we're gonna go live on one of them other sites as well. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put the live on Instagram too.
All right.
It's on the white table in the sunroom. All right, so we live on YouTube. Let me check over there. Live on Facebook. Okay. Okay. All right, we live over there. Tamara, Yvonne, Queen E checking in. What's good with you? I'm about to share the link with you in messages.
All right, cool. So which one are you looking at, people? So are you on?
I'm looking at the comments. I'm only looking at the comments on Facebook.
Okay. But you said it's on Insta. You said it's on IG too. I'm gonna turn on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go live on IG in a second.
Okay.
I ain't got to perfect it like that. It take a little second. Let me see. Okay, I just need to go into regular Facebook. Okay. It's my first time doing this.
All right.
All right. I just shared the link to the Zoom.
Okay.
I mean to the Facebook live. I'm gonna go live on the Instagram. It's gonna take like 2 minutes before it goes live, and then we can get things started.
I'm sharing it on the book now.
All right. Next, where is it? There we go. YouTube, Instagram. Yeah, it was like a long process on that one.
I see, right? Yeah.
Oh shit! I should tap in from my phone to check the comments on Instagram.
That look like something different that you got because it's automatically the way it automatically switching. The way it's automatically switching.
Yeah, no, this is the Zoom. The other thing was another service. Like I got like 4 services that I was testing.
Okay. All right.
Like shit was crazy.
Okay. I got it now. Yeah. I like how it automatically switches for you. That's dope.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
I end up finding something else for you too. Like I think I messaged you and we hadn't had a chance to talk, but I found like it's one service and another tool. I'm gonna put you up on.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
I was waiting for this Instagram to go live.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna try to open that one up over here because I want to see all the comments too, whatever people have to say about the commentary. It's on the Making It Magazine page.
Yeah, it'll be on the Making It Mag page.
I bet. There it is.
So it's gonna be 1 second. Okay. All right. And we should be live on Instagram now.
All right. Let's see. It has that live ping. It just has a blank screen. Oh, there.
Take a little second. There we go. I see you.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Bro, you don't know how long it took me.
Trust me. Do you think I can relate?
I know you can relate.
I can relate a little bit to that. I think I can relate to that struggle right there. For real. Yeah.
So, all right, so we good right now. We live on everything. Actually, I'm gonna send you. I can't even do it like that. All right. So for those of y'all tuning in, Kelby Cannon, publisher, Making It Magazine, founder of the membership. I am joined by an industry colleague and a friend, my man Blizzum. I don't know what title to give you because you got so many titles.
Blizzum, founder and program director at K1's Radio, work for right now for the purposes of what we're doing right now, what we're about to talk about. But also, I like the title of father. I like the title of black man. I like the title of son. All right.
Right.
All of those titles are highly relevant right now based on what we're about to talk about, honestly.
The interesting thing is, like, that's why I was writing the email earlier and just writing out them titles. Like this is we in some very interesting times, and it was like reading the comment that you had posted earlier. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not a contrarian, but I always try to look at it from the most difficult position to take to get more clarity on shit.
Right.
And so, like, a lot of times, like, I'll post things and people will take it the wrong way. You feel me? Because I'm
life.
yeah. But because I'm trying to see it from the other point of view to have better understanding. And you had posted something earlier, and it was like that I think was like a really good post, and it led to a really good conversation. If you could just start it out by really kind of paraphrasing the comment earlier that you had posted up about the police.
Well, I posed a question, and my question was, all things being equal, I felt like I could understand the inspiration that a black man might have if he wanted to be a cop, if he wanted to be a policeman, and his motive behind doing that was to try to change things from within, and so I initially started off the post by saying I understood that, but at what point, after you became a cop, unless you made it all the way up to the highest ranks of law enforcement, which is rare for us, right. At what point did you realize that you were, in essence, to me, kind of playing for the wrong team? And I say that because although we have some great, so they say, good cops, bad cops, white cops, I don't believe every cop is bad, honestly. I know a few of them, and they just like to just kind of hang out and kick it. But ultimately, I felt like with everything that's going on, you got to know that the police is the issue, and you basically playing for the team that everybody's protesting against right now. You work for the exact entity that everybody's upset with, rightfully so. So I just posed the question, like, at what point, if you were a black man and you were a cop, and when you decided way back when, you know what, this ain't it. Why did if you ever felt that way, why didn't you leave? You know what I'm saying? Why didn't you quit? Why didn't you try another profession? And of course, I'm a grown man with kids in college and a mortgage, fam. You know what I'm saying? So just walking away, quitting a main source of income is not something that you know I would take lightly. I don't think anybody else should. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, but if your inspiration was to go in and try to enact a change, and you see that systematically at the highest levels, the levels above your pay grade, is really nothing you can do. You can on a daily basis do your part by not engaging in police brutality on your watch for your 8 or 10 hours or however long you on watch that day in that neighborhood at that moment. But when you go home, when you're off, when it's not your watch in another city, in another state, all right, you don't control any of that as a beat cop. All you can do is control what you can control. And some people say that's all you can try to do and try to do the best you can. I understand that. Like I said, if that was your inspiration for going into being a cop, cool. But like we all see on the outside, that's not enough, because the problem is at the highest levels of government and the highest levels of law enforcement, and they're the ones that are still allowing all of the things that led up to these riots to happen in the first place. And so essentially, no matter how much for every domestic violence that you pull up on and it really ain't that serious, for every young black male that you see out there hanging on the corner that you try to talk to get them off the street, for all the good that you may do as a cop, ultimately you kind of spinning your wheels in the mud, because the real problems that led us to where we're at right now, to where people are rioting and looting in the streets, you can't do nothing about. You can't change that because it's above your pay grade, frankly. And so and I feel like at some point a black cop just has to admit that to themselves. Now, that's just how I feel. I'm not.
What about like the arc of time though? Like, so it's part of it for me is like, I don't like, even what we talked about, like you said, like you don't see it ending in your lifetime.
No.
You feel me? But that's also, that can speak to that same situation where someone who's in there, the beat cop, it may not change in their lifetime, but you follow, like, but what they're doing is making an impact. It only makes a degree of impact, but over time that degree gets accentuated just through time. Like, because one of the things that we were talking about, just the like kind of went into like the psychology of it, like of if you're trying to like, if you go in there with those intentions, right? And I kind of paralleled it with like the music industry, like how many DJs and promoters and people that we know who are professionals in the industry that really try to help like independent artists, really try to, that go hard for the indies to their own detriment, because the indies don't even respect them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't appreciate the fact that, you just trying to get money as a deal. Oh, promoters just trying to make money. And so they be like, man, fuck them promoters and fuck that. Like there's this antagonistic. So like for the ones who are really like, listen, they ain't even charging you enough to be doing this open mic. Like he
Right.
really didn't even charge, like the fucking club owner don't pay him but $150 and he playing your record for free. Like all of these things to the point where it makes that person be like, well, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like I'm doing this to help, but at the same time, I get no respect or love for what I'm doing. I'm painted as the villain. So it's like, how long does the good cop or the person who's actually in there for those reasons, how long can they mentally deal with that before they be like, fuck it, and now there's one less cop that's on that night where there's that domestic dispute call, or those kids hanging on the street that could have been there to stop, like it because it's like that one person that's there to institute some change for someone, and how that can trickle and multiply over time.
And that's true. So that's where you will be personally challenged as a person, as a human being, to grind it out, as we say it all the time, you know. And at the end of the day, you will have to make a conscious decision to say to yourself, fuck them. You're gonna have to say, I don't care, and what I'm doing is important enough to me to keep going. So ergo, we still have some good black beat cops That's still on the force. But that does not change
Right.
the team that you play for. You know what I'm saying? That does not change.
Here's one of the problems.
You know, that is what it, hold on. That's just like as like you said, a lot of people may say, oh, K100 Radio is not a quote unquote real radio station because we're not an FM broadcast, so we don't have some fancy building for you to pull up on and do a broadcast at. Some people may say, you know, for whatever reason, they may try to downplay anything, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna do what I want to do. Right? That's what makes me me. Now those cops that's what makes those cops. And so I'm sorry, but you essentially have signed up. I signed up to deal with ungrateful motherfuckers in the industry, ungrateful independent artists. I signed up for that. I already knew how independent artists was and how a lot of them can be. So when I decided to do K100 Radio, I already knew it was going to be some ungrateful motherfuckers who don't even understand what it is that we're trying to bring to the industry and downplay what we're doing and blah, blah, blah. Would rather give props to a whole another white-owned conglomerate who would never, ever look their way a day in their life. We understood that going into it. We signed up for it, just like they signed up for being a cop. So you don't get to use that. You don't get to use that to guilt me into saying, to guilt me into not calling out your team.
Here's a flip side though.
Right.
You also signed up for a dangerous ass job though.
Yeah.
Like you ain't never got to worry about not walking away from a broadcast.
I beg to differ.
Like
some of those clubs and places we've been in, stop playing. Stop playing. I beg to differ.
I
beg to differ.
I wasn't talking about the remotes.
Okay, but I was. You know what I'm saying? And I have. So I've been in some sketchy situations, even doing this broadcast in some clubs and motherfuckers is drunk, want to skip the line and all that. And I done had to, you know what I'm saying? You already know. So it's been times that I, you know, could have got into it. I'm not equating it to being a cop. I'm just saying. Right. The point is I made a conscious effort to decide to do that. And so did those cops.
Right.
They signed up for it. No, you don't get drafted to be a cop, fam. You sign up for it.
That's the point that I guess that's the point that I'm making. Is you have people that are making a conscious decision to try to do something. You feel me? People that are making a conscious decision to try to do something. It's like if like a motherfucker go vote and then the motherfucker who be like, bruh, why you voting? That shit don't even count. Like it's like, listen, I'm doing something.
Yeah. No, I don't. It counts what they're doing. But I still can't be guilted into not saying the truth. The truth of the matter is you still playing for the opposing team right now. You know what I'm saying? And until they fix at the highest levels, you're going to be on that team. Now you can try to fix it all you want to. And like you said, over time, it may build up in years and years, way, I feel like way after I'm dead, you know what I'm saying? After I'm gone, maybe my son, maybe my grandson, all right, maybe my grandson can see the benefits. But as it stands right now, we've had black cops, Kelby, okay, in the ranks since the 60s.
Right.
It's still 2020. What everything is still happening.
You know what? This speaks to, it was a post that I posted about, like, because it's this whole, you know, good cop, bad cop shit, right? And it's, to me, it's like, you know, it's a few bad apples, but it's like, and then we say, well, why don't they point out them few bad apples? Like, there's no denying that there are bad apples. We understand that they're bad apples, but it's not a few bad apples. It's a majority bad apples. The few are good. And it's like, and there's the reason, like, me looking at it outside the proof is the fact that the good ones don't point the bad ones out. Mm-hmm. Because the good ones are outnumbered by the bad. Like, you don't go pick a fight. Like, it's just you and your homie and there's 30 niggas over there. You're not going to go pick a fight with them.
Unless you're drunk in the club.
Like,
that happens for real, but okay.
but it's just like, it's like the reality of the actions or the lack of actions kind of is telling of the extent of the problem. Mm-hmm. You feel me?
Yeah, no, listen. So I just think that with my post, I was posing a question to the men and women who decided to go into law enforcement. And I'm not even talking about, because listen, every person has a story, right? The way I feel about everything that's going on is is tantamount that you probably should maybe speak to me for a little bit and know my history and know a little bit about me personally before you just say, why does this guy say certain stuff? If you've never had a conversation with me outside of looking at me do an interview on K1's radio, you have no idea why I feel the way I feel about certain stuff. So there are some cops that are in there because their daddies and their granddaddies was cops. You know, it's a lot of cops is one of those things that are passed down through, you know, those are it's a tradition. It's a bit of tradition inside of being a cop. So some of those guys kind of was like molded and groomed from the cradle. You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, you got sons, I got son. We try to mold and cradle our kids to what we see. So some of those decisions were made, were preordained, were predestined before they even could walk. He's going to be a cop. So we understand those guys exist within the force, but we've got some of the ones that are like, I'm trying to change the system. I'm trying to do it from within. And I'm like, yeah, it hasn't worked yet. You know what I'm saying? That just hasn't worked yet. And so my question in my post was, I really wanted to feel like, bro, like when you see stuff like this still going on, you gotta feel like, because I don't know about you, but even sometimes, like, I've talked to you. I've wanted to say fuck K1's radio and quit this shit sometime too, because I get frustrated at the lack of, movement and the lack of other things. You know what I'm saying? But
man, kept like a calendar for every month when I was like, man, fuck this mess.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But we still kept going because we believed in what we was doing. And I'm pretty sure those cops, just like I wouldn't care whether or not anyone said anything to me about, why I keep going or whatever, and why you keep going. They don't care because that's what they want to do. But at the end of the day, they are cops. The police brutality is out of control. They are still a part of this. They are enforcers because, like I said in one other post, there's going to even for every day that you go out there and you quell a domestic disturbance and two people walk away without getting charged, for every young black male that you tell them, look, young man, this ain't the way, and you let them pass that one time, you caught them with that pack, but you ain't want to ruin their lives, so you let them go instead of getting them caught up in the system. And that fear that one time they almost got caught changed them. For every one of those, there's a moment where because of the profession that you chose, you are now forced to turn on your own people in your own neighborhoods, all right, in a situation like this. And you have to pick a side that day. This past week, those cops had to pick a side, bro. You know, at the end of the day, and some of them, like the guys in Atlanta, not only did they pick a side, they just went over and above and ended up getting fired and charged because they were trying to do the job too well. I mean, listen, fam, I'm not against them.
And that goes just back to bad cops, period. Like, I don't think bad cops is necessarily a skin tone either.
No.
It's just a certain type of asshole too.
Yeah.
Like, you went to high school with them. Like, for real. Like, and so and I think that it's worse when there's that racial divide, because we ain't even like I posted earlier just not too long ago about, like, I was just thinking about this shit, like white privilege, like trying to understanding like white people who don't understand white privilege and don't believe white privilege exists. And I think the reason why my answer that I came up with in my head is what we ascribe often as white privilege is just basic human rights. And we've been deprived of basic human rights so long that we look at it as a privilege. So when we say privilege and a white person thinks, oh, if I get pulled over by the cops with a DUI, I'm going to jail. They're not taking me to, just driving me home because my father is a senator or something like that. That's privilege.
Right.
Like, but us not dying, them getting to cuss them out and still going to jail.
Right.
Like basic human rights.
Right.
That looks like a privilege to us because we know that that's not how it's going to go down for us.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly.
And so with that understanding, like, why working class white people don't understand when we say white privilege, because their definition of privilege is actually privilege and not basic rights. We don't have fucking basic rights.
Yeah.
And so that's where the disconnect is.
Yeah. And I take a little bit of, I take a step back to, I know people are going to push back on me this and say, nah, man, you just like, you can't tell them. Let me just say this first. I stop short of saying they don't understand. I am of the belief that if you a grown ass person, you more than understand. You just don't want to admit it. You know what I mean? Like you understand, you get what we're talking about. There's no way, and some people can say, man, nah, all of them don't. Maybe before the age of social media and the internet, maybe I could have bought that
right
20 years ago. Maybe. Even though all this was still going on, the lack of information, the lack of access to real people in real time, I could maybe see you were sheltered enough to escape it. But there's just no way now. I don't accept they don't understand. I'm sorry. I can't. Me personally, it's a choice to any person that ignores and acts like white privilege and act like they don't get it, or maybe they don't understand. Like that's a good breakdown. Right. And that's a good way to paraphrase it and explain it to a 4-year-old. You know what I'm saying? To a 10-year-old, but not to a grown person. A grown person knows exactly what you just said.
But here's the thing, though, for me is we never understand. I think that's kind of the fallacy of being human. Like we think we understand shit. Like I don't understand what it is to give birth. You feel me? My nigga, I will never understand. As much as my wife can explain it to me, my mother can explain it to me. I haven't been through those hours. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like, so there's just a different, there's tacit knowledge. It's something you gotta go through and do.
I know it hurt.
Yeah, that's it.
I ain't gotta go through it though, Kelby. I ain't gotta go through it, but I'm pretty damn sure it hurt.
But that's the thing.
But there's no one. But Kelby, no video I've ever seen looked like it didn't hurt. No woman has ever told me it wasn't. So at this point, as a 40-something-year-old man, even though I'll never have a child and push one out, I know I don't want to, for number one, ever. Number two, I am almost 99.9 sure, as sure as I can be without physically going through it, that shit hurts. You know what I'm saying? Okay, these people know. I just can't.
No. See, but that ain't the point.
They understand. They understand.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not so much that and that's you can say it hurt. So does a paper cut. So does stubbing your toe. So does getting shot. So there's it's so many levels. Like you don't understand that pain though. Like we can just objectively say it hurts and it's painful, right, but you don't understand how it feels. So that's why when a white person they can see this shit. But you don't understand it. Like it took me. It was just pointing out the fact that I've never and it was I was in my mid-20s before I realized this. I've never had to worry about being raped. I'd be out late as fuck whenever, any goddamn where, and it never crossed my mind. Maybe I shouldn't be out this late. You feel me? That's a certain type of thing that a woman always has to be cognizant of. Mm-hmm. And you've never had to do that until someone points it out to you, and it's damn. And even after they point it out to you, it ain't like you then have to go forth and start thinking about that when you're out late. So right. The shit that we go through as Black people, we can explain it to a white person. And they can be like, oh, damn, I've never thought about it like that. But then they do not have to go forward and still carry that burden in their day-to-day life, so they can never understand it.
Right. And that's okay with me. I don't have a problem if I have a short fuse with it, so maybe you can explain it and I can just sit back and wait for you to get done. And that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But here's what we're not going to do, and here's what I can't tolerate at all. And there's nothing you're going to be able to say to convince me otherwise, is when I tell you, like you said, if after the woman tells you how painful it is, you see the videos of how painful it is, and then I come right back around and say, man, that looks real painful. But you know what? That having that baby looks real bad. But dang, man, I sprung my ankle the other day, and I just feel like you should understand that that's the same thing.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So when they try to do that, is when that's it. I got to give them the full brunt. You know what I'm saying? I got to give them the whole, because I feel like number one, even though you can't feel what it's like to be in my skin, you more than understand, and you just don't want to. And B, now you're trying to downplay it and try to equate it to something that you could never understand. So that's why how many men do you see arguing on social media with women about having a baby? You know what I'm saying? You don't see that.
I think
you don't see that.
You know what? We have that argument all the fucking time, but it ain't about the pain of having a baby. It's about the pain of having relationships. And like, because a woman doesn't understand what it's like to be a man, just as much as a man doesn't understand what it's like to be a woman. So like, as you being a man and us being providers and us having to make sure that everyone is taken care of and everybody's protected, there's a certain pressure that you're always up under. You feel me? Like there ain't no safety net for you as a man, especially as a fucking black man. Like if you fall off the road, nigga, you hitting the streets, not a net. And it's like a woman can't understand it. Like it was like one of my exes, we had this whole, she was super feminist, so we having this whole back and forth. And so it's like, it was like, no, let's go out to eat. And so we go out to eat and we're out eating and the check comes like, oh shit, I ain't bring no cash on me. And she's like, oh, well, you got some money in your glove compartment though. And it's like, she didn't have her purse, wallet, no money on her. And I was like, that's the difference between being a man and woman. I can't ever go and sit at a table and eat and not have money on me intentionally and not think about, I always got to understand that whatever it comes down to, I have to make sure I can take care of shit. And it's like understanding that like we had that back and forth. Like I still to this day, as much as me and my wife talk, and she's opened my eyes to a lot of shit that I didn't realize. Mm-hmm. But it's like I still don't understand what it's like to be a woman, especially not a black woman in America today.
Yeah, me neither. I don't understand what it's like to be a woman, but I can see the plight that they go through. And right. that's why like the whole oh well, you know, they can't, I tell you all the time, you can act like you don't understand, or then you can just piss me all the way off and say all lives matter and I'd ready to cuss you all the way out. You know what I'm saying? Either way, you know what I mean? But you can maybe slide with me with the, well, I really don't understand if you're a teenager. You know what I'm saying? If you're 30, 40 grown, I'm just not having it, fam. I just can't buy into it. I just can't believe it. I personally feel like, full of
for me, the Black Lives Matter, I don't feel comfortable with Black Lives Matter. Like that statement, I don't knock anyone for saying anything, but for me, I don't feel comfortable saying it because I'm like, the fuck am I telling this to?
What you mean? You don't feel comfortable?
I'm not telling that Black Lives Matter. A motherfucker that I gotta tell that Black Lives Matter isn't a motherfucker I should be talking to. Like, because my words, me telling you that, if it takes me to tell you that, then motherfucker, my words ain't gonna mean shit to you because you should already know that. That's like intrinsic.
Exactly. So why are we having to chant this shit into the police?
And
here we are. People are burning shit down because we still have to explain this to cops. That's the point. We still have to explain this to sworn officers of the law, fam. And that is the whole problem.
I think the problem is we trying to explain it to a motherfucker. Like ain't no explaining. Like that's, if you don't understand something intrinsic, you feel me? If you don't understand that, then that's the end of, listen, I got more respect for a person who believes, I got more respect for a flat earther than someone who denies racism. Because I'll be honest, my nigga, I've never seen the curvature of the earth. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like I've never it's like not in my personal, like I haven't circumnavigated the globe. So we'll sit up and make fun of someone who believes in the earth is flat. You feel me? Meanwhile, motherfuckers out here acting like racism don't exist.
I mean, I think both of them are equally equal. Listen, okay, the earth ain't flat. I've traveled to the other side of the world and I ain't fall off. So it's hard for me. It's hard to get me. I think
listen, I can understand the experience and not seeing. You can make a better argument for the earth being flat than you can for racism not existing.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's a tough one. Right? I don't know, because I mean that the flat earth shit is.
But bro, you can still make a better case for it.
Okay, all right. I don't know about that, but I'll say this. I'll say this to you. The people that like to do that's essentially what I was saying before. Like the people who are denying the core problem, the real problem, they're the same ones who use all lives matter. They're the same ones that bring up quote unquote black on black crime in the midst of all of this. They're the same ones who feel like, and back to the beginning of the discussion to make what made you want to do this Zoom, they're the same ones that feel like a street cop can really change things. And that's where, to me, it's all of that is equally a same level of facade to me. It's like, yeah, not really. You know what I'm saying? Like, not what really needs to change to stop what's going on right now, fam, cannot be done by a street cop. It can't even be done by a homicide detective. It can't be done by a lieutenant. You know what I'm saying? This is systemic racism. So you have to tear that. You have to take away that comfort zone. You have to change the way that cops are trained and change the basic language of what designates as deadly as allowed deadly force. You got to strip that down and start all the way over. I don't want to get rid of cops. I'm not saying we don't need law enforcement.
Right.
There's no society in the world that's ever been successful without law enforcement. I watched that video, by the way, that you sent me before I started this show. I knew at some point,
okay.
At some point, I'd reference it. So you need those keys. And to people who haven't watched that video, I'm sorry if I'm talking about something that you don't understand right now, but there was a video that Kelby had sent me before we did this Zoom, and I watched it. He shared it on his page. You should check it out. It's pretty interesting. You need that key. Those keys were all essential in that video that you sent me. All right. You need all three of those keys in order to be a dictator or a democracy. You see, both a democracy and a dictatorship has those three keys. It's just dispersed differently once you become a democracy, but you still need them. So I understand that we need law enforcement. I'm not a proponent of pure anarchy. I don't want to go back to the wild, wild west where people would take 10 paces and turn around and handle their debts in the middle of the street. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to return to that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we know, fam, that there are people who get paid a lot more money than me, who are a lot smarter than me, who understand law, who understand constitutional law, who understand law enforcement, who understand logistics, all right, who get paid good money to know how you can not only change the laws, but also implement them without having a real fallout and a rise in a peak in crime. You can do it. There are people who get paid to figure this out, but they're not trying to figure it out. Not one politician, and we can start with Keisha. I love Keisha. We're in Atlanta, Georgia. So anybody watching this all in the world, we live in Metro Atlanta. So Atlanta's the closest big city. So Keisha Bottoms, and when everything happened down here in Atlanta, and she made her plea to the people, her, Tip, Killer Mike, both of whom I respect as men, as artists. You know what I'm saying? I respect her as a female too. All right. But at the same time, their first inkling, of course, was to save the city. You know what I'm saying? Of course, was to rightfully try to stop people from burning down their own neighborhoods. And I get that. But I was waiting for some of them to start. Killer Mike did his thing, but I was waiting for Mrs. Bottoms to just address the elephant in the room, to just remind everybody that the emperor has on no clothes, to remind everybody that we are here because of the police. Now, she did her thing and she showed her authority that next day when those cops tased those kids and she fired their ass ASAP. That was quick, but they were black. I don't know what you want to make of that. Say how you want to say it. You know what I'm saying? She fired those cops the next day. They all got charged the day after that. 48 hours, those cops have been fired and charged, but they all black except for one of them. The first two was black. You know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is the systemic racism that has everything where it's at right now. I just don't see people talking about the root cause. You know about that, Kelby. You know about root cause analysis, the root cause of any problem. There are people who well educated who understand root cause. You have to understand that if you're not talking about the root cause to me right now, I don't want to hear it. I got to be honest with you, bro. I don't want to hear any politician or anybody talking about anything except changing the root cause of the problem. Other than that, I could care less what you got to say. I don't care if you're a good cop, wanted to save the world. I don't want to. Are you talking about the root cause? Because other than that, it's all pointless.
So, like, the root cause is power. Like, it's like it. I don't think. Here's my thing. I don't see people. I don't see anyone as just objectively evil or good. It's like everybody's operating in their own self-interest. Those that get titled or labeled as good more often consider the repercussions on other people for their actions. Those who don't get looked at as evil. Like I look at the people that we typically like, we're looking at. I don't think like it was what was it, the how white boys stole rap. It was like this whole thing where when Malcolm Moore won the what was it, American Music Award and the Grammy.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of the stuff was like a lot of these posts and a lot of the stuff that divisiveness, like there's this nefarious cabal of people like old white people sitting around. How can we steal rap from black people? Like, no, these motherfuckers just trying to make money that don't give a fuck about you.
Right.
Like, and I feel like that's what politicians, a lot of politicians, these are motherfuckers that are trying to make money that don't give a fuck about who they hurt, whether they're black, white, women, whatever. They don't give a fuck. Does it make me money? Does it position me? Does it position my kids? Does it, like, I don't think that Trump gives a fuck about white people, men, US citizens, anybody. He gives a fuck about Trump. But the fact that he's white and he's a man and is a US citizen, so those groups tangentially benefit from his viewpoints. And so it's like, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, is we look at it is it's more about power. And so it's like for the people, like when understanding those power dynamics, it's hard for us to get what we want, not understanding like the full power dynamics, because it, like when in the video, those keys have keys.
Right, exactly. Right.
Oh, so Keisha could go out there and say everything that you want and then lose the support of the keys that she needs to be in a position to fire them motherfuckers the day after. And so
no, yes, I understood that. I understood that totally. That's why when she was talking, when she was talking, Mrs. Bottoms is a politician. I expect nothing less from a politician. You know what I mean? But you don't get to do that and then have me to fully be like all on board, clapping my hands like that was excellent. That was a great. No, that was what she was supposed to say because she's a mayor. That's what she has to say because she's got a second term to try to win. That's what she should have to say. I'm not applauding that. You know what I'm saying? I want. We got to address the root cause.
No, we got to applaud the two-faced motherfuckers that play the politics game because we need them. Just like you needed Dennis Rodman to elbow a motherfucker.
I don't have to applaud him. I'll just make sure that I know who's
serve a purpose.
Yes,
like Dennis Rodman.
The most that you can, if everybody's different. The most that Miss Bottoms could get from me is if I was living in Fulton County, I'd vote for her. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not applauding that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to applaud her for basically still I'm not going to applaud her for telling all these kids to go home. You feel me? But you don't address the root cause. You know what I mean? You got to address the root cause. I applaud her actions, her swift actions to fire those cops. But they were black cops. They're expendable, I guess.
Is it any different? Is it any different from the cops and the problem that's above their pay grade? Like
that's what I'm saying. That's my whole
above Miss Bottom's pay grade.
Yeah, but see, that's my whole point. That was the whole point of the post that got us here, Kelby. That's my point. Those cops, those black cops. I don't know. I don't want to use it. I'm gonna use a street word that cats can maybe relate to, but I don't necessarily mean it the same way. No, they're peons.
Right.
You know how motherfucker call you a peon?
Right.
Some of them get mad ready to fight. You call them a peon. You know what I'm saying? But in the grand scheme of things, black cops on the street who feel like they're going in to try to change the world, frankly, fam, you a peon. You know what I'm saying? Like in the grand scheme of things, and I say that in a way that I understand fair well that that same mentality that I'm saying that they're trying to go and change things. Someone could use that same mentality and turn around and say, that's why I don't want to pay you for your interviews. That's why I don't want to do this because y'all ain't the Breakfast Club, because y'all ain't Radio One, because y'all ain't iHeartMedia, because y'all ain't blah, 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 blah. And we don't blah, 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 blah. And you can say that. You can say in the grand scheme of media, because we don't, because I'm writing a lot of the articles myself, me and two other people on K1radio.com. We're not Huffington Post. We're not the New York Times. We're not TMZ. We don't have an army of people out here trying to dig up stuff and write original stories every 30 seconds, literally, of the day. No, we don't have that. So, and to them, we could be peons. Okay, that's cool. I can accept it though. Because I understand that. Yeah, truthfully, that is. But I'm gonna still keep trucking away. I'm gonna still keep doing my thing. We're gonna still keep doing our thing to try to contribute to what we can to this culture that we love. And those cops are probably still gonna be cops. And they're still going to try to save that one kid they can save and stop that and stop that one person from going to jail that they can do time and time again. And they can be applauded for that. But they can't be applauded for trying to change this whole thing. It's ineffective.
No. Here's the bigger thing. And it's like where I say it's demoralizing to the people who are trying when everybody's like, listen, you got some assholes who like don't appreciate the shit that you do, right?
Right.
But you have way more people who tune in to listen to the shit that you do.
Oh yeah, more, yeah.
Share your post. Now imagine just collectively as a community, we like, man, fuck 12, fuck them, fuck all of them, all of you shit. Like that's the loudest and the majority of the voices from the community.
Because the majority of the cops are bad.
No, I understand it. but when you're the black cop, that's like, bro, like I just like all the examples that I just laid out for you, and you know that you're making a difference, small differences in a small difference in the grand scheme of things, but a big difference in individuals' lives.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Like, we negate that? Like, and that's like, that's what I say, like, it's demoralizing to the point where, like, why would you my son wanted to be a cop. Kelby wanted to be a cop.
What would you encourage him to be a cop?
Hell no.
All right, Dad. That's it. That's my whole
problem.
Now, listen. Listen. You're a dad. I'm a dad too, right? So let's we're men. All right, we have real bills and real responsibilities. We're not something-year-old kids. Okay, so I understand that if my son came in here today and said he wanted to be a cop, the first question I'm gonna ask this dude is, bruh, why? And I mean this from the pit of my soul. Why do you want to be a cop? If that young man, my son, who I will scorch the earth over this little dude. You know what I'm saying? You want to see me go completely ham? Lay a hand on that guy. You know what I'm saying? You can lay a hand on me and probably live at this point, depending on how you do it. You lay a hand on him, all bets off. You know what I'm saying? It's hell or jail for me. If that guy tells me he wants to be a cop, my first question is why? And if it's real passionate answer, Kelby, is because I just feel like I want to protect people. I want to, and if that's really why he's going in, I will support my son, but I will let my son know that you going into the machine. You understand that you're going to be a part of something that's much bigger than you, son. I'm gonna break down everything about how I feel about, which we've had this conversation before. I've had to have the black man talk to my black son talk already. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, the same talk that white folks don't have to have to their boys. The talk that we have to have to our boys. I've had to have that Trayvon Martin talk with my son. You feel what I'm saying? So make no mistake about it. I understand that what those cops do, if they really feel like that, is admirable. It's just ineffective. You feel what I'm saying? It's admirable, but it's ineffective to me. To fixing the root cause.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, because in the grander scheme of things, it's ineffective alone. You feel me? And it's like, and I think that's the point of what like, even going back to what I was saying about the good cops are in the minority, so they can't point out the bad cops.
Why? That's now we're crossing over into being a coward. Now, listen, yes, we are. Now we're crossing over into listen. Hold on. No.
I'm gonna let you have it.
No. Hell no. Cause see, you can't tell me you want to be a hero. A cop can be probably closest to a quote unquote that when your son, remember you said your son wanted to be Iron Man before. You know what I'm saying? And we know that's probably not going to happen, but he could be a cop.
He wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he
all
could
right.
be a version of Iron Man by being a cop per se. You know what I mean? But you don't get no. That's I have an extreme problem with this. You don't get to tell me that you want to be the hero, you want to save the day, you want to do good and be a coward. You got to go in there knowing if you see anything wrong, the same way that you save that one young black man on that day that you decide to let slide and instead of giving him that charge, even though you know he's wrong, that same time you don't break up that family or whatever it is that you try to do to salvage it and try to give back to the cause. You gotta know I'm charging my son from day one. From day one. All right. You gotta promise me, son, that when you see the bullshit, you say something about the bullshit. And at that point, I'm gonna start fearing for my son's safety. What was that movie? Whether it be Training Day or any other movie where the cops, those are movies, but those are realistic scenarios where cops end up trying to tell on another cop and end up when somebody's shooting at them, they don't get that backup call or backup a little bit slow coming through. All right, you literally put your life on the line as a cop when you tell the truth about other cops. It's dangerous to tell the truth. And that goes back to my main point. The systemic racism and bullshit in place to protect them in the first place is crazy. But if you want to go in there and save the world, you can't be a pussy. You can't be a pussy. You can't be a pussy and try to say, listen, hero can't be pussy.
I'm gonna give you this, right? I'm gonna give you this. But here's the problem with the logic though. When you demoralize the person who's trying to make a difference, you make it so that less people do it. You feel me? And so the less people that are doing it, the less good guys, the less people who are trying to make a difference, then it always maintains the balance. It's like that's it. If I'm here by myself, like my nigga, you go to the club, like we was just saying, like if you go to a club and you know there's some niggas on that side of town you got a problem with, you feel me? You're gonna go over there prepared for certain situations. It's like, and you're gonna like either you might not go over there, or if you're going over there for whatever reason, like you know how you're gonna go over there. But it's like you want to bring more people with you. You follow me?
Right.
It's like to balance things out. So whatever comes, like you're prepared for it. And it's like that's not what we're doing when we demoralize, like when we shit on Black people for becoming cops and entering the criminal justice system. The only thing that we guaranteed is nobody in there looks like us.
Or just let's say all the cops go in there, the Black cops go in there,
right,
that are real about that life, who really want to be cops, who understand that I'm signing up for a dangerous job, who are not cowards. They go in there and on day one, they make it understood. What's understood don't have to be said. Whatever you got going on when you're on your shift and whatever you got going on when you ain't around me, that's okay. Do it around me. We're gonna have some problems. And you can be that one cop.
Right.
You can't go in there and just be the Black cop that fits in with everything else. You feel what I'm saying? You can't be the Black cop to me. You can't be the Black cop that goes in there and you do all that stuff right there to save the kid and do all that. But then when the coworker choking somebody out about to kill him, you sit there with your hands in your pocket like, I don't want to say nothing, because you gotta be that cop all the way around, all the time, fam, in every scenario, in every situation.
Hold on, the cops are a gang. We see that all the time. They the gang, right? So that same logic, if you in a gang, like, okay, we both criminals, right? Like, I'm doing this shit to make some money. You feel me? Like, whatever, I'm part of the crew. I'm trying to make some fucking money. That's why I'm here. But like, situation pop off, this motherfucker murder somebody. You follow me? Like, that was like fucking innocent. Like someone who just happened to be in the house, some whatever. You feel me? Like, we both then decided to commit to kick a door in. Like, this motherfucker didn't pop somebody. Like, do you turn him in?
Listen, You already lost me at when you decided that you wanted to play for both teams. You know what I'm saying? When you decided that we both criminal, if a black cop go, see, if you don't go in there, man, listen, my whole thing to the black cops, bro, is I love the couple of cops that I've given praise to,
right,
have only been the cops that when stuff like this pop off, I see and hear them, and it's far and few in between. You don't get the kudos from me for being the black person on the force that says I went in and try to fix things. Did you really? Well, where the fuck are you at right now? Now, if you out right now, protesting, if you're vocal and not retired, not on a desk job, if you're literally suiting up every day, and I still hear you out there in the middle of everybody like this is dead wrong, they need to go to prison and all that, you know what I'm saying? And everybody in your hood, everybody on your beat know that shit is authentic. Know that you really don't, you ain't really, like if every other cop in your department know that if I do anything wrong, the first motherfucker to tell on me gonna be that nigga right there. I put some respect on your name.
How did motherfuckers like that in high
I
school?
put some respect on your name then. But if you ain't that nigga, fuck you. I'm sorry.
But no,
It is what it is, man. If you ain't that cop, I don't give a fuck.
Listen,
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you. But
Yeah.
how does that work out for that person? Like if
You signed up for it, you wanted to be a hero.
I ain't here's it. Fuck them wanting to be a hero. How does that work out for us?
What you mean?
Like, if it's like, all right, so me and Kim, I can't even remember where the fuck we was.
Uh-huh.
But like it was an issue with damn it, fuck. I can't remember where we was, but it was like we were dealing with customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like we were out somewhere and it was like the manager was over there and Kim's going like, and I'm looking at the guy who was initially helping us, a black dude.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to say it was about some tires. It was at Kaufman or some shit. And it was like, she's going back and forth with him and like, he can't really do it. I'm like, hold on, chill out. Let the manager leave. I talked to the dude. He's like, don't worry, I'm gonna take it off the bill. Like, and we're done. Like, but for you to argue and be like, you need to say this shit in front of the manager, now you're not in position to take care of us. And it's like, that's the point that I'm making. Like, okay, they take whatever come with it. But when they take whatever come with it, now they're no longer in position to make those differences that they were making.
But then you really didn't make a difference then, did you? If that person still felt comfortable enough to choke somebody to death around you, mm-hmm. What difference did you make? What difference did you really make, Kelby? If one of your coworkers felt comfortable enough around you as a black man to choke another black man to death with you standing right there, how much is your presence being felt?
You know what? If that person was on duty, like, see, because there's no video of the times where that's happening, and there's a cop there like, yo, get the fuck off of him.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? There's no hash. See, this is the thing. It's like it's a thought exercise, right? It was like the thing was, and this is from I'm gonna shoot you the link to this book called The Black Swan, but it's like you can't prove something that didn't happen. So it was like this hypothetical, say there's a junior senator from fucking Kentucky who passes legislation that's like, yo, we need to reinforce the cockpit doors back in 1998. Mm-hmm. And it passes, and the airlines have to reinforce these cockpit doors and all this shit, right? It costs them fucking millions of dollars, so they lobby to get that motherfucker put out. But because of his legislation, September 11th doesn't happen.
Right.
Saves 3,000 American lives, prevents fucking 2-3 wars in another Bush administration. Mm-hmm. But there's no proving the effectiveness of it because we can't. There's no proof of it. There's nothing to say that. So like we can't really speak to the effect that like there are times I would say based on just statistically speaking, I would have to imagine there are times where a black officer, the presence of a black officer, a motherfucker showed some restraint or that motherfucker stepped up like, bruh, chill the fuck out. But there's no footage of that for us to talk about that. So just because we don't have the proof of it, like we can't say that it doesn't have any impact.
I don't even debate that it does not happen. I'm sure that there are some. I'm sure that that happens somewhere,
But,
sometimes.
but once that
You know
motherfucker
what I'm
happens,
saying?
it don't
Every
happen.
now and again, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, fam. Listen, I'm sure that there are some solid people,
Mhm.
some good, all around good men.
There's good people on both sides.
Now,
Fine people.
ain't no very fine people over there with some of the motherfuckers. Ain't no very fine people in the Aryan Nation, motherfucker.
Oh,
Wasn't no
God.
very fine people in Charlottesville. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? With tiki torches. None of those were very fine fucking people. But I digress. Listen, I understand that there are some people, okay, and some cops and some and that will do that, and we don't get to see that. We're not privy to that. There's going to be some guys that, because of laws and the way departmental policy works, that have turned in people and probably got people fired, but you can't even speak about that because the police union sealed all the records of all the internal investigations.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So I know that there are some black cops in there doing their thing and acting change. I'm not saying that that doesn't exist at all. That's ludicrous. All right. I understand that. But when I made my post, I had to.
No, I understood your post when you
Yeah.
like I totally understood.
Yeah. So my post was just basically posing the question to them, like, listen, I know you in there doing the best you can, but look where we're at. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, everything that you've done, all the good that you've done, that time you turned that dude in, like all that shit you did, guess what, bro? Somebody still choked the dude out with their knee, and all hell is breaking loose. A girl still got shot up in her crib on a no-knock bullshit warrant. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still got this ex-cop down here in Brunswick chasing a guy down, him and his son, killing them in cold blood. And because he's tied in with the police force and the judicial system in Brunswick, he gets a pass for 2 whole months until, thanks to the internet, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? Thank God for the internet, because he would still be out right now if it wasn't for social media and viral videos and viral news stories. So I'm just posing the question to the black cops. You know, I know you went in there to do good, bruh, sis. I dig that. But you got to know, you, as it stands today, are fighting a losing battle. As from the evidence that we have right now in 2020. And a battle that's been lost since the 60s, because how long has it been since they started accepting black people on the force? The 60s or some shit? Or probably earlier than that.
I can agree with that. Here's the point that I make on our end though. Like, it's demoralizing to be fighting a losing battle and then to get up every day and still go fight it for the incremental changes and the small victories that you can have that are still big victories to other people. But then for the same people that you're fucking fighting a losing battle for to disown you and shit on you, like that's double demoralizing. And that's the point that I'm saying, that we as a culture, as black people, we make it even fucking more difficult. Like, it's like when someone like, and that's I feel like that's one of the social construct with us, like when someone's doing the right thing or attempting to do the right thing, we belittle the right thing that they're doing, which makes it for less of us to do the right thing. It's less incentive.
You know what, Kelby? I'm of the opinion that while I can understand, I say that I can agree with that point. I honestly generally feel like that if you are really the cut and the mold that we need in the police force, brother, and I say this looking dead at this camera on everything I love, if you are really of the cut and mold that we need to be cops, ain't shit gonna demoralize you from doing it. You won't be stopped. You won't be denied. It's just like an independent artist. It's just like an artist who feels like, I was born to do this shit. If you really went in there with pure intentions as a police officer to really enact change, and that's why you're really there, all the demoralization, you're gonna be able to eat that. Just like an indie artist eats up that first time he gets on a stage and people laugh at him, and people, the first time he records a song and it's got a trash ass mix, and he still go back in the studio again and again. He go to showcase after showcase. All right. He goes until he finally does the right combination of things to make it and blow it, because he felt like that's where he needed to be. And of course, we understand that there was a whole combination of 1,000 other moving parts and teams of people that had to make that happen. He didn't go in there. No artist does it alone. And I'm just trying to juxtapose it to what we do in our industry, to people who may be listening to the broadcast or the show or this interview or this whatever we doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get y'all to understand that I understand, and I can understand at the end of the day, just like a grinding indie artist who feel like that's what they want to do, they won't be denied. A cop who really at the core believe that I'm here to make change no matter for what, Kelby, you can't demoralize them. You can't stop them. They dare to do it. But I need for them to understand that, bro. Right now, you know, you got to know what you're signing up for. You got to know what you're going into. And I can't be on your overall team. Listen, you go up in there, you do your thing. But you got to know that us on the outside, we're going to be skeptical. We're going to be critical because of the team that you chose to sign up and play on. Out here in the rest of the world, brother, we are still going through it. So you just have to understand and respect that it's gonna come with the territory. If you a cop and you cut from the mall, I feel like if you can't take that, you don't even need to attempt it, because you got to know that going in to the situation.
I disagree to
Why?
the extent, because we all human. We all fragile. Like some people are built sturdier than others, but we all fragile. Like we all have a fucking day or a time, a point. Like we're the wrong shit at the wrong time with all the right, you understand? Like, bro, like, you know, I know you, right? Mm-hmm. Like earlier this year, the end of last year, like some shit, like the wrong set of shit that someone said to you with this music shit, with this cable, like would have triggered you in a different way. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I'm like, when you going like that's the point that I feel like I'm making, is that you already fighting an uphill battle, but you fighting an uphill battle. You trying to roll, you Sisyphus. You rolling this stone up this fucking hill, and you know it's gonna roll back down. And you rolling it down, you rolling it up the hill to protect these motherfuckers at the bottom of the hill, and the motherfuckers at the bottom of the hill is throwing rocks at the back of your head. Mm-hmm. Like that's what it is. Like it's like already fighting an uphill battle, and we just like we shit on the Black people who choose to become cops. Like I was sitting there like watching, like I'll be watching like a lot of videos, like fucking sell out, like yo. And then the crazy thing is, it's like it's a cultural thing. Like it's like in some of the videos, like
okay, so it's an experience thing for me. Let me. Right. I don't want to cut you off.
Go ahead.
So let me say that it's a cultural thing, probably so. I grew up listening to the Chronic like a lot of people, and right. NWA. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? I grew up listening to gangster rap and stuff. And while I'll never subscribe to the fact that gangster rap made me do a goddamn thing in life, I did everything I wanted to do because I wanted to do it. I can understand people's point when they say listening to that as the soundtrack to your life at that moment could you know what I'm saying, could make you make a decision, right?
Right.
But I always stood on my own merits with every decision I ever made. I've never let nobody tell me, and I never tell nobody NWA made me say fuck the police or made me sell drugs, listening to dope boy music and all that. I did everything I wanted to do because I wanted to do it, right, Kelby? Right?
Nope.
That's what kind of person I am. This is what it is. So listen, I can tell you this. Some of my opinions about cops, brother, is real deal. Maybe it may be cultural,
right.
But believe you me, it's not all. Some of it is experience.
No, bro.
You know what I'm saying? So dealing with black,
so I understand that.
Dealing with black cops, without going into the whole story. But you know, the one time I really was about to go to prison. I told you that story before. Remember when I told you that story, the one time I was really, they was really about to give me some real time in this judicial system, and I was really facing real time for something I did, and I did it. But what I will never forget, is the night that I got arrested. Which one of those cops was eager for me to go to jail, and which one of those cops was trying to understand my side of the story.
Right.
And the cop that was trying to understand my side of the story, funny, was a white cop. And the cop that was like, hell no, take him down, lock him up. We ain't trying to hear none of that. No, all that cap. That was like, I'm not trying to hear your side of the story, even though my side of the story makes perfect sense to this guy. Because it's lining up with what I'm telling you right now. Look at this. Look at me. Look at the situation. Look what happened. Look at everything. Listen to me. I'm telling you, this is what happened. The cop that night, when I almost lost my freedom for a couple of years, the cop that night, that was like, I don't believe you. You full of shit, was the black cop. So we can also throw that into the fray of why my personal opinion about black cops is what it is.
I totally agree.
You know what I'm saying? So I like to be transparent though, because some people are going to sit here and be like, Blizzum just ain't listening. No, fuck that. I'm talking about what I've seen, what I'm seeing out here right now. The fact that my own mama was fighting for the same shit that those kids, my own mama was marching and fighting for the same shit these damn kids got to march and fight for in 2020, back when she was in the 60s, before she even knew it, thought about me existing. The same problem, a black man being murdered, maybe by the police, probably the Klan, combination of both back then. She was marching for the same thing a whole nother generation of kids is marching for in 2020. And I've had my fair share of run-ins with the law. You know what I'm saying? So my formulation and my opinion about cops, black cops and all that stuff, it comes from my personal space and it comes from what I see in the world. You know, now what you're saying is practical and I get it. I understand demoralization. I liked when you talked about earlier, the way that you try to make, the way that you put it to where what we do and try to make it seem the same, but it's not the same, because one is not the same, because one deals with life and death on several forms, death in the penitentiary or death in the grave. Nothing we do is dealing with it on that level. So I just can't take it as, I can't really juxtapose it like I told you earlier. What I'm saying to you is, to all the brothers and sisters who are cops, while I understand your plight, and if you are sincere about changing from the inside, I can respect that to a certain degree, but I just cannot give you a pass because you black.
You know what? You really bring something that I hadn't thought about, and so my words is gonna be kind of fucked up. Mm-hmm. But it's the thought that being a cop is a job that requires less skill. It's not like if you're a surgeon, mm-hmm. then you have an aptitude, a specific skill set. Right. You have to hone in on. Mm-hmm. But like the skill set for a cop is limited. It's like you have skills that you have to develop, but more of it is a psychological thing. Mm-hmm. Like the fusing situation, like threat analysis, this is an ongoing psychological thing on being what we need for good cops, and to even fucking for bad cops. Like it's more psychological than skills. Right. And so like here's the thing, like even with the black cop, like if I go back to Sisyphus, like rolling that boulder up the hill and like you trying to fucking keep it from rolling down to crush the village behind you, them motherfuckers throwing rocks at you, then like a motherfucker who snaps will just let the boulder roll down the hill. Mm-hmm. It's like we make monsters. Oh, wait, did we do? Whoa. Not we just as black people, but people in general make monsters. Like motherfuckers, like anyone who's mad at these kids for tearing shit up, society made them tear shit up. Right. Like maybe the cops are directly responsible for everything right now. Realize that. So the cops are directly responsible. So like, but here's the thing. You also said you made your choices. Yeah. They're making their choices. Yeah, yeah. If they get locked up based on the situations and the environments and all that shit. Yeah. So you also can have a cop that go in good, I'm doing this, that, and the other, and then like motherfucker, nigga from the hood, your pussy ass motherfucker, inspect shit out of them in front of, like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I've seen this shit too. Yeah. Like, so then it's like, at what point, like, that motherfucker is more racist and more angry, like, because to go in trying to help, like to go like you're for somebody and they fuck you over or they treat you like a certain way, that can breed a different type of disdain.
So let's talk about root cause analysis again, and let's talk about why the psychological profile aspect of being a cop, why so many cops fail psychological profiles, why you can have several, like the cop that killed George Floyd. Obviously, he had some psychological issues. Obviously, he had some problems. He was still allowed to operate after he's had several instances of police brutality filed against him, killed somebody before. I mean, listen, when you hear stories and say, you talk to some cops and they say they've been on the job in a major metropolitan city for 30 years, never had to draw their weapon. And you got this one guy who shot 4 people, killed 1, and had 3 police brutality complaints on him, and he's still on the force. That's systemic.
Right.
That's systemic. You see me? So from a psychological standpoint, it has to be torn down, Kelby. It has to be torn the fuck down, brother. You know what I'm saying? And you have to start from the ground. You have to change the requirements. The education level, everything, and the pay, up the pay, change the pay. You got to up the pay for these cops. But listen, bro, you can't just tell me a cop saying, I just want to save the world, and enough of them going to be able to do it, and that's going to enact change. We still here in 2020.
So listen, so how many cops would get behind an initiative to increase the pay scale for cops along with these more stringent requirements?
The good cops should be okay with it. The bad ones, not so much.
Cops would be okay with it.
The bad cops going to be like, you don't understand what it's like out there every day. People lie all the time. They're going to come up with some fucking
like money. Motherfuckers, even bad cops like money.
A fucked up cop gonna make an excuse for that. They go the police. Hold on, the police
fucked up.
Bro,
the main fucked up cops.
Shelby, the main motherfuckers that's gonna oppose that is the police union. They're gonna be the number ones that say, "Oh, wait a minute, you can't be basing pay scale off how many complaints a person got. What's that? You know what I'm saying?
Like, not even
they're gonna fight it.
Not even saying that it's based off of that. Like increasing the base pay for cops in general, but in order to be on the force, more stringent psychological requirements or certain things that matter. So now there's a carrot and a stick. Like, cause we trying to change it with nothing but a fucking stick.
Listen, I'm not wrong. I'm not against that. But you ain't a politician. You ain't the president. You ain't a congressman. That's my whole point. All this shit is. That's why these cops and these beat cops.
Wait.
They can't change the rules.
I want to take this time to officially announce my candidacy.
You and Michael Render, huh? You and Mr. Michael Render, aka
running mate.
Killer Mike was campaigning the other night. You know what I'm saying? I'd vote for him, but no, seriously, I would. All things considered, all things being equal, I'd vote for Killer Mike too as well. But here's my thing, fam. I just think that makes sense. That's the stuff that I'm talking about. But no one else. We talking about it on this live. I don't hear whatever the fuck you want to call him in the White House, because he ain't a president. Whatever the ass or whatever, you ain't hearing him talking about it.
Right.
And to be honest, in that whole tirade that Miss Bottoms gave the other night when she was trying to get everybody to go home, she didn't mention it either. So
right.
That's all I'm saying. That's all. That's all. That's all I wanted to get out, man. I don't know. It was a great discussion, though. It's a great discussion.
I definitely agree with so, and that's the thing is like we always agree and disagree on the exact same points, though. Like,
yeah,
I got you.
But I mean, listen, if somebody signs up to be a cop and they want to be a cop, I just need for them to understand that, bruh, being black ain't gonna get you a pass from black folks right now. Right. In fact, it's gonna get you looked at with more stringent eyes, more criticism. All right, but you got to want to be that. You signed up for it.
But here's the problem, though. This is what I'm saying. Culturally, we disincentivize the shit that we need and incentivize the shit that we don't.
Who is we?
In general, black culture.
That's not our job to incentivize them.
That's what we do.
But it's not our job to incentivize a cop to want to be a cop, fam. That's not the average black citizen's job. Your responsibility as a cop is to go in there and do your job and do it with honor because that's what you signed up for.
No, that's something we disincentivize. That's something that we need that we disincentivize by the like. So this is the conversation that we had like just about crack, and it was like for me the whole situation with the crack epidemic. Like I think it was like is the shift like pre-crack, like niggas always sold drugs, ran numbers, prostitution. It was always niggas who hustle. You feel me? But it was like it was organized. It was older people. Like you had to be in a position at that point in time, right? When crack came in, you had kids making tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. You had 16-year-olds sitting on bricks. Like a 40-year-old has a different reverence for life because he has kids. A 14-year-old doesn't and is ready to kill something over small shit. And it's like the golden rule, the man with the gold makes the rules. And so it flips the dynamic to me. This is how I perceive it. Like it flips the dynamic of what we value is the culture is outlined by kids at this point. Mm-hmm. So it's like, lame ass nigga, you a garbage man, a lame ass nigga, you working like nigga, we getting real money. So now that's the way that we're looking at things. So mm-hmm. to be a stand-up person with a job and all that shit lame now. And so like, and that becomes the culture, a culture that's set up by fucking kids. And we grow with that culture because whoever got the money, listen, right now, we co-sign a lot of fuck shit right now. Like, because somebody got some money. Like, in the industry, in the streets, like, it's niggas who snitch, it's niggas who all this shit. And people be real quiet about that shit because a motherfucker got some money. But if they was broke, you would not be so cool with the shit. And it's like, that's why I say with how we incentivize, like, because we have more reverence for shit that isn't particularly progressive for us. Mm-hmm. And so by us promoting those things and having and revering those things and like a motherfucker always, like, this is one of them posts that I always see, like, motherfucker throw a party for this motherfucker when he get out of jail, but when I graduate, you don't throw no party for me. You feel me? Like that type of shit. Right. And it's like, it's fucking true.
Well, it depends on who your parents are. You know what it does. All my kids have had parties when they graduated, but I digress. Let me say this. Let me say this in retort. So the garbage man, the grown ass garbage man, should be ill-concerned with what these children are saying, number one. And so should these cops. All right.
It's not about the children. That is not about the demoralizing the garbage man. It's about the other people, the kids that are coming up that see, oh, it's lame to have a job with a pension or with insurance. I got to make money. I got to make money now. Like that. That's what I'm saying. It creates a culture that grows up having that same mentality.
So we grew up in the crack era. Do you still feel that way at where you at in life right now?
I've never felt that way. But I know plenty of motherfuckers who do.
I'll raise my hand. That was me. I sold drugs. So yeah, talking about me right now. You know what I'm saying?
I grew up around all that shit, but like I was always just a fucking nerdy ass. Like, so everybody, like, when shit would go on, like, bro, you gotta go home. Like, like, cause they like because motherfuckers looked out for me.
Right. So
that's like for me, it's a little different because like I've always been around that shit, and like I got niggas that's in prison, got niggas that's dead, like I've all that shit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like I've never had to be in that situation because I always made money doing other shit with computers and shit.
All right, right. So here's what I say. I grew up with definitely with family who got hurt by the crack era. Grew up with family who made money off the crack era. I myself have no problem with admitting now, years later, that I was a purveyor of that negative culture. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, where I'm at now with everything, and make no mistake about it, my misgivings about the police, my mistrust from the police comes from my life walk. You know what I'm saying? I cannot sit here and expect everybody to see things the way I see when it comes down either to the riots or anything, bro. Like everybody's walk is different. All I can do is give it to you from what I know and what I experienced. And what I'm telling you is, although I did go through that, and I did go through the game, and I went through the game, and I was in the game for years after when people didn't even think I was. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up a little bit. I got slicker. You know what I'm saying? But when I finally decided to step all the way away from it because I felt like I had more things to lose in my life, I was too old to go sit down for 10, 15 years fucking around. You know what I'm saying? I was like, listen, I'm too old. 10 years now, break me. You know what I'm saying? 10 years now ain't the same. 10 years at 35 ain't the same. 10 years at 30 ain't the same as the same as 10 years at 19. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? So you start looking at things and your outlook and your perspective changes. So you just change your grind, you switch your hustle up, and you move on and you grow. That was my story in a nutshell, right? Found other ways, got a job, got a hustle, got started really being interested in music. That hurt me in the beginning because I wanted to finance my career. So I took extra risk, you know what I'm saying? Trying to finance my rap career as an artist, you know what I'm saying? When I first got into the game as an artist back in the day. So yeah, I understand all that. But what I'm saying is you're saying that our stance about policemen and our stance about people with jobs and all this stuff is negative and all that. And I agree with, generally speaking, from a young kid's perspective, you could probably tag that, but there are a lot of us who completely understand, bro, that the garbage man is getting paid and somebody got to take out our fucking trash. You know what I'm saying? And all of us, even people in the quote unquote hood, even people that, we all understand everybody got a job to do. That mentality, it exists and it's in the culture, but that's just like saying all of us, all black people are one way and we all not. Like, some of us feel that way. Some of the young kids may feel that way, bro, but all of us don't feel that way. Me and you don't feel that way. We talk all the time, and I know I can name 30 dudes off the top of my head that I can just tell you that don't agree with that, bro. You know what I'm saying? But the culture will maybe dictate that. You know what I'm saying? But hey, what can we say about that, man? That's life. That's just people. Everybody's different.
I feel like the root cause for me is the culture.
No, the police culture? The police culture? Because that's the root cause of everything that's going on right now. The culture of law enforcement. So
you got a system that needs to be changed, right? Like, the system is fucked up. But I feel like we can't change the system because of our culture. Because of our culture doesn't allow us to work together. Our culture doesn't accept that everybody has a part to play. It was like, I posted about, like, it's this thing, there's no black leadership. And I was like, I mean, it's some black leaders, but how many? It's like, it ain't a lot of black followers. Like, everybody got to do their own thing. Everybody, because being a follower is too synonymous with being a dick rider, with being a peon, with being a do boy. Like, you gonna let them, like in our culture, that's how, like, I've had so many people in the comments on these things. I'm like, so who do you follow? Well, I don't follow no political party, or I don't follow. And it's like, that's the thing where, if you, like the video I was showing you, it's voting blocks. It's like, you still have your keys to power, but it's about having an aggregate of votes, an aggregate amount of people. And in order for you to have power, for any key to have power, they have to have followers. And it's like, we will follow a motherfucker on social media for some bullshit, but we won't follow someone in a political arena because we disagree with their stance on certain things or whatever. But ultimately, who's going to be more advantageous for me? And I think we get caught up in the fantasy of what could be, that we negate the practical shit that we can actually accomplish to get to where we could be.
Which in essence means, which is in essence why you're saying, all the way back to the beginning of this conversation in the post, is why you're saying that we ultimately should just support black cops more. else is your argument about all of this? You support black cops more. Is that what you're saying?
I definitely feel that.
I'll support good
black cops.
It's my black ass. I'm sorry. That's just what it is, fam. You don't get a pass just because you're black.
Right.
You don't get a pass because you're black. Because we just seen in Atlanta, Georgia, 2 black cops get fired and 4 more get arrested because they was on some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So just because you're black don't necessarily mean all of a sudden I should be on the bandwagon for you, fam. No, if anything, I'm looking at you with a keener eye. I'm expecting you to lead the right way. So all this pressure that you're saying we putting on them, all these things that you're saying we psychologically damaging to them, because we're putting this added pressure on them because they're already black, so they got to deal with that. And now we all talking bad. Listen, deal with it. You signed up for it. You wanted to do that. You signed up to be a cop. You don't get drafted, fam. You don't get drafted. You sign up, you volunteer. So step up if you want my respect, any cop, but especially the black ones.
Listen, I don't know where we go after we leave here.
Right?
Yeah. So let's say we were somewhere before we came. And you could pick your avatar like we own a fucking video game.
Mm-hmm.
You choose this skin tone.
Would I choose my skin tone?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm unapologetically black. I feel like my skin, even with all the bullshit, I don't want to be nothing else. And I've been like that since I was a little kid. But that's my mama doing. You know what I'm saying? Blame that on my mama them. You know what I'm saying? My mama them instilled that in me, fam. So I don't know about the rest of those folks. But where I'm from and the way I was raised, I'm beautiful, baby. Ain't nobody. I'm the best. We the shit.
Bro,
yeah. So my avatar gonna be the same. I might be a little bit taller. For my hoop dream days, I make myself about 4 inches taller. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't changing a goddamn thing, except I make myself about 4 inches taller.
Oh,
so I can try to get that scholarship. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, I ain't changing shit. That's just me personally.
Yo, I got some members that came in, like, cause I sent out the email. I wanted to have some members be able to come in and like share their thoughts on a couple of things. So we got like Sam CIC in here, Sir Isaac Sound in here, RGB in here, DJ Miss Move Swing.
Shout out to RGB, he's dope. I know him. Shout out to RGB. I've heard his music. Yeah.
The rest of them are from all over the country.
All right.
Like if you want to come in, like just raise your hand and I'll bring you in. You gotta have your video enabled. Okay. RGB got some shit he won't say.
Go ahead.
Let's see. RGB, you there?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So what's funny is like I met up with Calvin, DJ Calvin today.
Right.
And we met up and we was basically, strategizing how we can really make this better, because he had some younger cats hit him up and was like, yo, I see a lot of people talking, a lot of older people talking, but we out here trying to do something, but we really out here blind. We think we're doing something, but we don't even know what we're doing. We just know that, okay, y'all protest back in the day, so we should protest too. But there's nobody out here leading us. But though we see Killer Mike and T.I. on TV, but not on the ground. And so they wanted, they didn't want, they wanted us to figure out something to bring more attention to help them. Right. Now, is T.I. gonna go out there with them out acting, doing what they doing? Probably not. But they are crying out for help. That's basically what it is. And it's so crazy that we talked about the whole system thing. There's a system. The system was created to fuck with all of us, to fuck with black people, to fuck with anybody other than, what it is. Like it's a game. Now, how do you play the game? That's where they came up with the whole what they call it, the inside out, what was it, inside outside thing that they got going on. So basically, to piggyback off of what y'all was saying, because we were talking about the same thing, you raise up the younger generation, because it happens in everything else. Like mob bosses, they had politicians. They raised their kids to be politicians. Right. John F. Kennedy, his daddy was a bootlegger. Period. Guess who was the president? John F. Kennedy. So in order to change the system, we gotta do the stuff from the outside also. We gotta start from the outside, which is basically getting people to do voting, voting and protesting. And on top of that, getting people to believe that they could change the system. You want to be a lawyer, boom. You want to be a sheriff, boom. I've been a part of police brutality, but damn near my whole life. I stayed in the country town where just police, all they did was just fuck with us. Period. I've been slammed on the ground. I've been kicked. I've been beat the fuck up. And shit, I couldn't do shit. What I'm gonna do? Fight them back? I was a jit. So at the end of the day, I understand where people are coming from when it comes down to police and all this shit. I don't fuck with the police, but what I do know is if there was a police that was from my neighborhood, he would look at me differently. He will understand me instead of fear me. And that's basically a part of the system. You go in the inside. You don't knock a person from, knock a person for being a police if he's trying to better his community. You don't knock a person for going, okay, I want to be Supreme Court justice. Boom. You don't knock a person for wanting to be mayor. You don't knock a person. So we got to build and put people in that position. And it dawned on me because, I was a fuck the police nigga, and I've always been a fuck the police nigga, only for the bad police. Because I know some good police officers. My brother-in-law.
Fuck the police. You wasn't saying fuck the police.
Yeah, I wasn't saying fuck the police. I was like, man, fuck the police, because some of the police. You know what I'm saying? You got bad cops, you got good cops. But right now,
the same. Fuck some of the police. Like,
right.
But it's so easy to just put it in totalitarian, like in those terms.
Right. But right now, it's kind of like everybody's like the good police, they finna get it just like the bad police. But we have to show everybody that there's a way to do this in stealth mode, because that's how everybody else do it. That's how. But we like to show we doing this. But everybody else is doing it stealth mode. You don't know that they're doing it, but guess what? When you go to vote, you know who it is, who this white man is, but then you don't know who you don't know who the hell this person is that you just saw on the sign, a black person. You don't know who that person is. And it was a young guy out there, man. He was like 19. He was like, man, I had just graduated. And I'm glad y'all did this, because I did not know when I went to go vote this last time. What was that, like last year or something like that? He was like, I didn't know who none of the people I was voting for. I didn't know nothing about them. Nobody educated me on anything. But the white person, I knew more about that white person that was on the ballot than I did the black person.
Right.
So he was like, I kind of feel like we need y'all help to educate us on who our people are. Like they're looking for leadership.
You know what? And here's the I think this is the difficult thing for me, is like, and there's this disconnect from the generations. It's like you have young people looking for leadership, but also not accepting leadership, not accepting to follow. Like they'll mention the T.I. and the Killer Mikes because they got a lot of followers. They're celebrities. They're on TV, but there are people in the community. There are plenty of groups, especially in fucking Atlanta, that these same young people can go and find and become a part of those organizations. But it's like it's not though that shit ain't sexy. Like it's sexy to be like out there with Killer Mike and T.I. and shit, and we revere that shit because we still are caught up in the glamour. And like that's I feel like that's why I say it's like the amount of lives that I've seen in the past week where a motherfucker talking about they live, how lit it is and how many people, oh, we global, like happy and excited to have a lot of people watching. You feel me? Like it's like, yo, this is our fucking community. Like these people in pain. And it's like you're filming and just happy to have followers. And it's like I feel like that's the disconnect. The people who are doing it for the reasons of really being hurt, really in pain, really out here trying to protest, really out here trying to affect change and want shit to be better and shit to be different. But then you also have a lot of people who would like those things, who would genuinely like those things, but that ain't, they motivated by other reasons at the same time. So like, that's just where my head is on that. And that's why I just like, you know, bro, like for me, this protest, my protest, I protest 365. You feel me? Like, that's why I'm on live a couple times a week, giving advice, talking to people, uplifting people on business, like connecting people, helping people out, putting money in people's pockets. I fucking hire Black people. I pay Black people. I invest in Black businesses. I do a lot of shit. And it's like, we can't just wait until the motherfucker dies to love each other.
Right.
Like, that's the fucking problem that I got. Like, love me before I fucking die. And like, that's the problem for me.
Hey, Kelby, I want to say to the homie right here, when everybody has their own drive and motivation. So I'd say this to him and to any other young person. If we're in 2020, based on everything that we've seen in this past week, the way that you found out, the way that George Floyd died, the way these kids knew that it was a riot going on downtown, the way they knew, you know, what was going on and that everything was popping off, and that same information portal that they used to find out all of this information that got them even down there disorganized in the first place, that same portal is the same portal they can be using. That same cell phone, that same internet access is the same portal they can use to find the information that you said that they seeking, bro. So it's like, at the end of the day, I understand your point. Like, the kids are down there with no guidance, and that's not good. That's bad. They need leaders. But at the same time, you got to have that drive within yourself to want to know the information. If you really wanted to know some of the stuff that you was asking about, bro, it's literally at the palm of your hand, the same way this Zoom conference is. You feel what I'm saying? Like, literally in 2020. So the way I see it is, I stopped short of saying that we don't need, the kids are lazy. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of those people who kind of try to downplay the youth, because I feel like the youth have every right to be out there doing what they're doing right now. Whether they tearing something up, really protesting, because none of this would be going on if it wasn't for the cops. The cops are the catalyst for everything. So whatever's going on right now, I'm not blaming anybody but the spark that lit the match, which is the cops. But what we can't do is sit back and say, well, we ain't got no guidance. I can't say that when I'm literally looking at me and Kelby has all got the same, about 4,000 mutual friends. He's sharing information. They're sharing information. I'm sharing information on our pages. It's all about what you choose to consume, because that information is out there, brother. You feel me? There's some of that knowledge. Like, if a guy goes to the poll in his election that he don't know who that Black person is, two things: either that Black person is playing at a disadvantage and they don't got the marketing budget to reach that person, and then they have the budget to promote to get to that particular constituent. All right, or you wasn't paying attention to the election at all. The only time you consume your information is what you see on your news feed, and that's a you problem. You understand what I'm saying? That's all I have to say about that.
it's like the music. I find so much correlation in this to the music industry because like I look at systems, like all of this shit is like when we talk about systems, it's all the same shit. It's just like that's why I can compare like the music industry to the cops, like because the system in itself is the same. The variables are different. The equation is the same. The variables are different. So like just like with the protesters, I can look at them like every fucking independent artist who says that they trying to get on, they trying to do this shit, and then they hop like, bro, like I just need to know how I do my marketing and promotion, like, bro, like how I register with ASCAP. Nigga, ASCAP got a website. Like you really about to take up the time on a live where someone could ask me some personal shit that is specific to them to ask me something that's general that's available to you on Google with like bullet point steps. And it's like in that's where I say like we say these things we would like. It's a difference between liking something and wanting something. Like I always say like I would like to win the lottery, but I don't want to win the lottery because I don't buy tickets. Like the idea of it happening, like, yo, that would be some cool shit to have an extra $10 million. But if I ain't took my ass to Quick Trip and bought me some tickets, then I didn't want it. And so it's like, it's either we would like leadership, we would like this, but if you would like leadership, then are you looking for leaders? Are you looking for someone to follow? Are you following someone? And like, that's kind of where, for me, the disconnect is in what a person said. I think people state what they would like more as things that they would want, but they're not taking the actions. And so like that's why I try to have these conversations on live all the time. And like talking, like I talk to a lot of the artists and the people that come in, they be young, like they be in their fucking late teens, early 20s, and we have this conversation, and a lot of the conversation that I have don't necessarily like, they'll ask about music, but I'll always frame it in a broader context because the systems are the same, the principles are the same. Principles don't fucking change. And so like that's why like I don't directly answer certain questions, and I try to put them in this broad context, because if we look at like some of the same shit that I've said, like even when we talk RGB, like we could take those same conversations and put it in this same, put it in this exact same context in relation to the protesters. And it's like we have to support the people who are actually supporting us. And so if you're looking for someone to lead you, then they're supporting you with leadership. But you have to support them by being good followers.
Yeah.
So what do we do with the lost people?
I got Sam C checking in from the Bay Area. He got a comment, a question. Let me get you in here. There's a little lag on it. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right on. Happy to be in here with you all. Lots of different thoughts, right? I'm sure like all of us, so much thoughts, emotion. Like for what RGB was saying, I feel like now everything is so instant. Everything is so easy. So like unless it's right here and I mean, you put it on the person's lap, like, so, you know, like what you guys are saying, there's got to be effort. Like you have to really go and seek out the organizations, the people, the leadership. You know, if you're a leader, if you consider yourself a leader, then you probably have more responsibility to go gather the people to follow. You know, like with today's technology and resources and money, I'm sure like I just saw this thing, will.i.am has this crazy super app that he's working on. With today's technology, we could have some apps that pull all the people together, bring that seamlessly and makes it real easy for the ones that need that ease, you know, that you know, to unify.
Look, here's one of the problems with the technology. is not ours.
First thing,
And
first.
so even in truth, like I've been debating on setting up like a bulletin board, doing something like even on the dark web, like on some like, and not for like any nefarious purpose, but just something that's outside of the system where anyone can have access to it and can connect with people. But here's the thing that you got to understand, and like one of the things that we have to understand is how can we rally people on a platform that is biased, like Facebook, like that's why I was like, yo, I'm gonna take this. We'll be over on Zoom. I was broadcasted to all the other platforms, but we're gonna have the conversation on Zoom, like because the algorithm is about making money.
Yeah.
And the algorithm is as biased as the people who coded it, because that's it. Like
it's all part of the system.
Yeah,
it's all part of the system, you know. Yeah, and that's like getting back to sorry about your name, BLI Blism.
Oh, Blism, yeah,
Blism. About like the police, like the police is like I'm like a part of the system. The police is a racist system. The whole system. The United States. Look at the reality is the United States is created for the white man to succeed and everybody else to fail. That's the reality. It really is set up that way. If you really look at it, and the police department is they're just a tool, in my opinion. Like, call me a conspiracy guy, but look, there's the oppressors, like Tupac, like plenty of interviews. He's like, there's the oppressors and the oppressed. It wasn't like there's white and black. There's the oppressors and there's the oppressed. The oppressors, like, they're not going to give anything away. We have to fight for it. Anything that we have in life, whether it be in general, all of us, or black people in the community, we have to fight for. We've had to fight for it. They're not just going to give it. They're not just getting, like, years and years. It go back to kings, nobles, and peasants. The kings had chunks of land on this planet. The nobles kissed the king's ass and said, we'll keep everybody in line. Just give a big slice of the pie to us. We'll help you out. We'll manage everybody. Just give us a little bit more. So fast forward to today.
It's a modern day feudal system.
That's IRS.
Yeah, it's a modern day. You got the tax man, you got the lords, you got it's a modern day feudal system. Like, it's like, that's what, and it's like just going back to the systems don't, like, the principles don't change. Like, it's still intrinsically the same system, just different titles. And instead of an individual, it's a department. And it's like the video I shared with you, Blism, like, it's like the difference between the dictatorship and the democracy. All the shit is still the same. It's just whether it's one person or a department.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, you know, like, personally, you know, like my life is like, you know, my mom's like a wild hippie from, you know, the 60s, San Francisco, literally running with the original Black Panthers back in the day, you know, and doing things, you know. So the way she raised me, much different than most white Americans. When I was 5 years old, she took me to the Gambia in West Africa. We lived there for 9 months. I went to school there. I was the only white kid at school. 5 years old. I don't know if you got children, but like, I have a 5-year-old right now. Like, the way I was treated, and I understand why, every day after school, bro, they would fucking beat me with sticks, throw rocks at me all the way home. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I'll never forget, like, that I learned of racism in this world on myself because of my skin, the only white kid at school, every day being beat with sticks and rocks thrown at me. And I say this not saying I will never know what it's like to live in this world as a Black man or a Black woman or a Black person, never. But I will always remember, I do know from a young age, like, what it feels like. And through all my walks of life, you know, it's like, it's deep. And anybody who tries to deny it right away is on my shit list. If they try to deny what's so evident, you know, and I think maybe a lot of people deny it because they're afraid that it means that they didn't, like, have to work hard because of white privilege. They didn't have to work hard for what they have. And it's like, no one's saying you didn't work hard, but what we're all saying is like, you didn't have nearly as many, I didn't have nearly as many obstacles.
I think that's what we go back to when I was saying the difference between like white privilege is just basic human rights, because it's not saying that you didn't have to work hard, but that's how it comes off when we say privilege. It's the fact that I got to work so much fucking harder, like that there is inequality. And so like, but when we cast what should be just fair as privilege, like it's a fucking privilege for shit to be fair. And it's like, and it's like, I don't know, like if it's easier to say that someone has it easier than to say how much harder that we have it. Like, because the disparity is still the same. It's just how you want to put it in the terms that you want to put it in. And
how would everybody be reacting if it was a black cop who had his knee on a white man and killed him?
It's over with.
Yeah, like, I mean, he would have been arrested that day.
Yeah.
I think that's like,
he was being crucified that day.
And if you got like, you know, hanging out with the homies and some shit pops off and one of them kills somebody, they're going to arrest everybody. They're going to arrest all the homies. They're going to arrest everybody and charge them all guilty by association or whatever, you know? So they arrested. It took protesting to arrest this cop, right? It was like, what, 3 days?
It took rioting.
Yeah.
Rioting.
Right.
Yeah. And just to be clear, Minnesota, just so everybody doesn't, I don't want to talk because I want everybody else to talk, but just remember that the city that sparked everything off, Minnesota, this was not the first incident. All right. You had Philando Castile up there, and then you had the reverse effect of what you're literally talking about, to where everybody saw the reaction, how quick they locked up that Somali cop when he shot that white woman.
That's what I was looking for.
So everybody's like, hold on, fam, hold on. It was already boiling up to that, but everybody, Minnesota was the spark, and it wasn't just because that one contained incident in Minnesota. Now Minnesota it's the spark and the inspiration for the rest of them, but Minnesota was a perfect place for it to pop off based on recent. We talking about recent. Philando Castile was not that long ago. That Somali cop killing that white woman was not that long ago. You feel what I'm saying? We ain't talking about a decade like Rodney King back in the day. No, all this stuff happened a couple of years back. You know what I'm saying? Has it even been 4 years?
Nah.
Maybe? I don't even know. I can't remember the date. It hasn't been only been about 3 years since Philando Castile, and then the Somali cop, and so they have their own internal stuff that's going on. So, like you said, they even took that into consideration. I saw a lot of people talking about how quick they responded to when that cop shot that white woman, and they wasn't responding that same way in Minnesota. So that just compounded it on top of everything. They had a recent example of the reverse, and it wasn't working out the same. The cop ain't going down the same. That was more gas.
Along with everything else, right? That along with Ahmaud Arbery, and you know, here in the Bay Area, you know, Oscar Grant. You know, you heard of Oscar Grant.
Yeah, I have. I heard that case. Yeah. I saw a couple people posting about it, because now all these other cases, everybody's so in a fervor. I'm learning myself. I thought I followed in police brutality more than the average, but I'm learning about cases popping up all over the country that I had never heard of all of a sudden, because now it's in the algorithm. Now everybody's sharing everything.
Right.
And it's a couple other cases that I hadn't heard about that recently that happened there. So it was kind of like, wow. You know, yeah.
Well, let me I'm gonna hit y'all with something, man. Like what I do in the business that I deal with outside of music, I deal with a lot of wealthy Italians and you know, business owners, right? Car dealership owners. Now, one of them hit me up Thursday morning, and he was like, "Yo," he said, "Hey, I want to know where in Atlanta are you guys like really in?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in the city." And he was like, oh, "Okay, so I just want to give you a little something that I heard, a little birdie, you know, word of mouth. The same thing that's going down in Minnesota is that because y'all have the most pretty much how we think of Atlanta as the black city. Y'all have a lot of black owned businesses in the city. He said, so what's coming? I don't know if y'all are gonna be able to to basically push back, but don't get pulled into the BS, because things are gonna happen in y'all city, and it's not gonna be dealing with the majority of the stuff that's gonna happen is not gonna be within the city of Atlanta. The people who are gonna be doing this not even gonna be from Atlanta. And I'm just telling you that just to give you a warning, tell some people that to not feed into the BS, because there's a political situation going on here. So it's up to y'all. Now, I can't sit here and say that I understand once they do something and y'all riot in Atlanta. I can't sit here and say I understand, and that I can be like, y'all say, no, we ain't gonna do this. But then, of course, it's a lot of young people in Atlanta, and once they start it, it's gonna blow up, and boom, next thing you know, what happened on Friday? Boom, all that happened, and then he called me again. And he was like, I mean, I couldn't do nothing but, tell you what was gonna happen. There's no way for me to stop it, but it's a lot of power floating around, and this is beyond. It is way beyond this whole situation, man. It's exciting riots. That's basically what's happening. It's exciting of the riot. So if you basically say, if I start something, the way little kids are, if you break into something, start stealing something, guess what's gonna happen? It's an opportunity for them to follow, and that's basically what happened.
That's kind of the problem. What I keep going back to is just like choosing followers. I mean, choosing leaders. Like, so when you out there aimless, like, then you don't follow the mob. Like, you're gonna like that, like, but if you out there with purpose, you're not. And like, that's the lack of structure, the lack of, and I won't say leadership, but the lack of followership. Like, to come down, like, we're down here, but we're just down here. Like, not even to, like, even the symbol, like, if you going down, like, who's all driving down there, like, so who's like, yo, we're gonna meet up down there. Whoever's making that call, like, that's the person. Like, but it's so hard for us, and that's why I go back to the culture of us, like, being a follower is frowned upon. Like, you gonna let him tell you what to, like, that. So psychologically, it's hard for us, even I don't give a fuck if it wasn't even an older person. If it's someone just within your social circle, like, yo, calm down, like, for you to be able to take that. And it's like, that's kind of the thing where, there's plenty of reports and footage and where they're paying protesters, like, and that's the difference with organization. You have people, you have white supremacist groups, you have anarchists, you have plenty of people who, because they're organized, will see this opportunity and get more out of it than we do.
Yep.
And that's kind of
about that.
And that's what I like what I was saying earlier. This, to me, is not even a good or bad thing. It's just all of it is about power, money. Like Sam was talking about with the oppressors and the oppressed. It's like the oppressors are oppressing because they got power, and the oppressed because they have none. And like, they gon', like, power preserves itself. Like, that's like shit. That's what the fuck we would do naturally. Like, if
we have the power. We have the power. It's the challenge is bringing our power together. We have more power. We have more power.
We have power more focus.
When we're together, like, I'm like, years ago, I was going into Trader Joe's over in Emeryville, and this transient homeless guy was out in the parking lot and was like, "Hey, you got $1?" So I went over, gave him $1, got to talking. this guy's like one of the smartest guys I ever talked to, man. We just started politicking, talking about life, talking about things. And he's like, look, this is where it's at. They need to keep us separated. And they found a way to do it beyond race, beyond sexism, by class, by monetary class, every which way. How do you, once you've separated man and woman, once you've separated as much as possible Black people from Chinese people, from white people, how do you separate them from each other? By class, by money, by monetary levels. It's all about keeping it separated, because together is when we are more powerful than them.
And here's the thing, like saying the same thing. Like all the energy is there, all the power. We have the power because we have the numbers. You feel me? Like it's like the problem is that power, to harness that power. It's like I can sit outside and it's a bright sunny day and I can feel that it's warm, but I just feel that it's warm. I know that it's fucking energy from the sun and the heat. But if I take a convex lens, I can focus the sunlight that hits an area this large and start a fucking fire that burns a house down. It's about taking that energy and focusing it to a point. And it's like, understanding that they use a concave lens. That's what the media does. It's a concave lens, and it takes the energy that's right here, and instead of focusing on a point, it spreads it over an even larger area so that it's diffused and has even less power than it had when it wouldn't even start a fire, but it would create some warmth. And like that's where we're at, like with these movements like this shit that happened is a convex lens. It's like all this anger and frustration that has been building up, that everybody, when these things happen, it's a convex lens, and it focuses that energy into a point where something has to catch fucking fire. But then the media comes in with that concave lens and diffuses it again to spread it out. You know what the Latin Kings are doing right now up in Chicago? You know what this is going on? And it's like, oh, it looks like these people have a cheesecake. Like, and it fucking all the distraction to where all that energy that was coming together to actually to create a catalyst for change gets depleted. Right. And it's like, who really?
I think it's two things that's really messing us up the most. One, I would say would be the lack of a long-term mission, because stuff like this happens and we build up and we build up and we build up and we build up, and then we just explode. And then for 6 days, niggas riding in the streets, you know?
Until the first.
Right. Right. That actually goes to my
it's hard to protest when rent due.
that goes to my other point. My other point is we have no other financial system to go off of except for the system that's set by the same people who are already compressing us. It wouldn't be this many people out there on the streets if the majority of them didn't have unemployment right now.
Right.
Let them snatch unemployment let them write down the names of every single protester and rioter out there in the street and say, hey, we're going to take your unemployment if we see you again tomorrow.
No, this is how they do it. This is how they do it. If you get arrested while you're on unemployment, you void your unemployment.
Really?
No.
Oh, wow.
Like that's how little simple shit like that, where oh yeah, that makes sense. And
they want that.
It's
way too many people on unemployment right now, and they don't want people who they feel do not deserve it. Which, let's go back to racial inequality. The people that they feel like has been living off of poverty situations, living off of food stamps and government assistance their whole lives, supposedly us, when it's really just a middle-aged white woman is the highest. You know, they want us to be the ones that don't have the unemployment help, and we back out there with diseases and stuff running around and having to just deal with it, you know. And it just it's this vicious cycle. And like I said, since we it's going back to everything that y'all have said, you know, the fact that you have the Italian mafia and mob and all of these different organizations, the Ku Klux Klan, all of them, they have developed long-term plans to not only create power out of places that they didn't have power, but they've created plans to be able to self-sustain themselves. And you look at Jim Jones and all these different cults, they created their own internal systems. And when it came to them fighting with their the way they went down was months and months of standoffs with police, because there was nothing that they can cut them off from in order to stop their movement. But they can do that to us quickly and easily. And that's the toughest part. That's what's missing.
I feel like, and this comes back to me, is a cultural thing. Like, I feel like it comes back to me as a cultural thing, and I feel like part of that, like, the is rooted in slavery, and following is so close to slavery. Like, I don't want anyone to have any power over me, any kind of dominion over me. Like, I don't want to have a job. Like, you feel me? I got to make my own money. I can't allow that. You feel me? And when we can't submit to power structures, like, it's like everybody has to sacrifice in life. I was just talking to my son about this. Like, we all have to sacrifice in life. Now, you can either choose what you sacrifice, or you can allow someone else to choose what you sacrifice. So you can sacrifice and choose that I'm not gonna do this thing right now. Like, I'm gonna stay living at home a little longer so that I can get myself together and make sure that I'm financially sound before I move out or do whatever. Or I could just jump out there and try to do everything on my own and not have the finances that I need, and be hanging on by a shoestring. You feel me? By a thread, and have to make decisions that aren't necessarily beneficial to my long-term goals. It's like, but we have to make these decisions. And that's where I feel like when it comes to these type of situations, like, the biggest thing that I feel like, the point that you made that I really feel very, very strongly about, I don't know why you keep muting yourself, is that it's like we don't have a long-term goal. And it's like, I feel like we don't have a long-term goals because it takes a hierarchy. It takes to really build long-term goals that we all adopt. We all have ideas of the perfect thing, but it takes collaboration to have an actual plan and to outline what it looks like. One person didn't write the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. It was a collaborative effort.
You know, on what Dalo was saying, the longevity and working with it, something that comes to mind is like, I could be wrong, but I'll just put this out there. It's painful. This road of healing, this road of addressing the reality of racism, in my mind, movement towards eradicating, ending racism, it's painful. It's painful as fuck. So it's not comfortable. So the longevity, like, it takes a lot of strength and endurance and stamina to be inside of that pain. Especially, I imagine when you're a Black person dealing with it day in and day out and day in and day out and day in and day out and day in and day out, and then to have to deal with the pain that is going to come along with the work that needs to be done. It's not easy.
Or I have a suggestion. I'd like to throw this out there.
All right.
Our fucking government that we pay taxes to can just fucking fix it. Listen,
They're not going to do that.
They're not going to. They're part of the.
Let me explain what I'm saying. I know that it's not gonna snap my fingers and boom, that's it. Just like Kelby said, you can't win the lottery without playing the game, right? I understand that, but here's my issue, and I want to make sure that in the conversation we don't lose sight of why we're all on this Zoom call right now. We're on this Zoom call right now because of police brutality and systemic racism. You understand what I'm saying? So while I understand everybody's point here about what we need to do as a people, how we need to get organized, how we need to have leaders, financial stuff, everything, we need to be more understanding. White people can be more understanding. We understand all that. But what we really need to do, and some people are going to agree that it's effective or however you feel, we can start with number one, flexing our right that I feel personally, how I feel about it, flexing our right to vote, going out there, making informed decisions about who we vote, voting in all of our local, state, and federal elections. All right. But when we do that, we have to make really informed decisions. And we can't just, if there's any part of the culture that I hate, it's the whole voting doesn't matter angle of all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, bro, RGB mentioned, the Italian mafia, whoever. I've been around other millionaires. I've been around millionaire athletes. Obviously, Kelvin, we've been around millionaire people in the industry and stuff like that, and other industries, logistics. I got friends who own truck companies. I've met people. One central thing that I noticed that all of the people that I know with real money care about is politics. Everybody that I meet that has real money, now we ain't talking about dope boy money. I'm talking about real business money. They all care. They all care about who's their congressman. They got relationships with them. They vote. They lobby. They contribute to PACs. You know what I'm saying? Political action committees. They do all of this, and so it's weird to me how Kelby says our culture is so about the money. Our culture chases the money, and we care more about people when they got the money. But all the people that I know with money care about politics and voting. You know what I'm saying? But we have a lot of people in our culture telling me and telling other people that voting doesn't count. Voting doesn't matter. Voting is a joke. It's crazy. So I started my statement off by saying that, being sarcastic, i.e. the shirt, you know what I'm saying? Because the whole crazy reality of all of this is it's got to be fixed at the top levels, and it's got to be fixed by the laws. The laws have to change. Well, the laws can't change to get them where we want them to be until we get the politicians in the power that we want to have in power in order to change and rewrite the laws that says if you're a cop, you are no longer protected from murder just because you got a badge. All right. Paid administrative leave is off the table when you use your firearm. All right. All of these things all of this stuff. The reason why we are on this Zoom call, the reason why people are rioting in the streets is because a cop again killed somebody, and it was filmed, and it was a tipping point. We are here because of the police. Period. Kids are rioting and looting because of the police. So we have to fix the structure. All right. And I say that no one can tell me that I know Kevin, I can ramble off 3 different voting organizations that we both know that have come to your events and been on K100 radio that specialize in Atlanta about trying to get people to vote. I've seen artists come in there and those people take the mic at Media Matters and speak about their movement or whatever, and people over there drinking in the corner, talking, laughing. They don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like, which goes back to what RGB was saying about information and what you decide, what you decipher, and what you decide to pursue. I've sat there and watched at your events where people just ignore my vote is hip hop and Shar Bates when she's talking, and then focus on a whole bunch of other stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's going on over here on the corner.
I say the seed is the culture.
So yeah,
the culture dictates what we value. The culture dictates what, like, so when I talk to whatever I teach my kids to value, like, I can't tell them like, yo, you gotta get good grades, but I'll never fucking check their homework. You feel me? Like, what we reinforce, our culture that we create reinforces these things. So we say, yeah, voting matters, but then we don't talk about politics. So then it's like voting matters. And so, okay, I got that. So a motherfucker shows up at the polls to vote and don't know nobody that's on the fucking ballot because they don't keep up with politics. They just know that voting matters.
But the politics
don't talk about the whole political process.
But the politics was out there. They just decided to watch the twerk video instead. They chose not to pay attention to it. But the information be out there. You have the information I've literally been to your events, and anyone on this show has ever listened to a K100 radio broadcast knows that the information, it gets put out there. You, like you said yourself, who are you following? And then you said, well, they don't even necessarily want to follow us because then they're dick riding us. You know what I'm saying? Even though we're literally telling you the information that really is pertinent. We don't just talk about the industry, and I know you don't, and I know I don't either on our platform. So I mean, you know.
Okay, so here's where I'll draw the correlation: the membership. Like, that's what the membership is for. Like literally, like if we draw that comparison with the music industry, is why I can do this call with our members is because I expect a certain level of thought from them, because the people who choose to opt into the membership, it's a certain culture that we build up. Like, we on lives, we talk, like send out emails. I get emails from them. Like, I know where people are. And so it's like, that's the thing is the things that I feel like I try to put an emphasis on, like, yo, I lost a few hundred followers. Like the email I sent out today, maybe close to 100 people unsubscribed. Like, I don't give a fuck. It wasn't meant for you then. Like, but for the people who are in this room, the people who are tuned in to engage in this dialogue, like, this is the culture. This is the culture that I want to be a part of. And so it's like, to understand that we shape the culture in our day to day with the things that we are the carrots and the sticks to other people. There's someone who looks up to you that when you say you fuck with some shit, oh, now they fuck with it. And it's like, it's that thing, like, every day we create the culture because we are the culture. There are people like RGB was talking about, like, these young cats look up to you. Oh, you older, oh, bro, you do music, like, bro, that woo, that shit hard. And when you say some shit about some politics, they're like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to check that out. And it's like, we gotta set the tone. Like, we know better, we gotta show better.
You know what, the politics, like, respectfully, Blizzum, like, I mean, like, I got friends, family, my auntie, she's hardcore, like, voting and everything. And but I my own personal experience and plenty of people I think in the world, like, now, like Mark Twain has a quote, like, if voting made a difference, they wouldn't let us do it. You know, like, what if, let me just throw this out there, what if psychological, right? What if this whole voting thing was to pacify people, to make people feel like they had a sense of control, make people feel like they have a sense of direction and power. But at the end of the day, I mean, I remember years ago when George Bush, like there was more votes than there were registered voters. Like, the shit was so corrupt.
I'm gonna give you, that's a great argument. Let's say it was a 99% fucking chance that was exactly what it is. In that 1% chance, the voting, the afternoon to voting, is fucking worth it.
Right.
That's the thing. It doesn't matter. Like, so what if it doesn't mean anything? You know what you spent an afternoon? Like, motherfuckers spend you spend $1 on a lottery ticket.
Right. Like, yeah, like what if this is all a computer simulation and I take a blue pill and I wake the fuck up and I'm really in a fucking spaceship? I don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But what I do know, what I do know is what I do know is because my grandfather and my mother fought hard for me to afford me the right to do it. I don't take that lightly. So let me be wrong, but let me be wrong. I rather go out and vote and it not matter, and then it matter. I don't. Bottom line, it's just that simple with me, fam.
I can respect that. I can respect that 100 for sure.
Oh yeah. Like on the rioting thing, and you know, like on the racism. Like, I'm from old slave town. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Like, it goes down here. I'm saying, like, we got over 10 plantations. Like the police thing. Like, as far as that goes, like some of the black officers, they're prejudiced. Let's say they're racist. Let's say, like, I'm a victim. I was framed. I'm saying, like, I was beaten, framed by a black officer. Then he called back up. He called the white officer and lied to him. Stuff like that. Like, it goes down here, like, and like, I wasn't out there rioting. I wasn't out there protesting, all that, because I'm saying, I know what time it is. They had people getting paid to go out there to stir up stuff. Like, I got the word back that the Ku Klux Klan were riding around. They were riding around in the middle of the riot, like, cranking it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I kind of know a lot about the system too, because I got family members who are officers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like police, but I got family members who are officers. They tell me little things here and there, and you know what I'm saying? But I still keep my distance because I know, like, I'm just being in the streets. So I see how they treat me, or even if I'm not even doing nothing, they just coming at me. So I try to keep my distance from all of them. But you know what I'm saying, it's like, right now it's a good thing to me, and then it's a bad thing too. Like, Like they're tearing up stuff, but tearing up stuff right now is it's getting the message, but it's not gonna fix things like that. You gotta fight them in the system. You gotta get some people in the system.
I honestly I don't know what kind of message it's sending. A message, but is the message being received? It's like
No.
it's like signal to noise. Like is a lack of fidelity with the message. We know motherfuckers is upset, but like it's like yo, you kidnapped you have to send the goddamn ransom note. You gotta come with some demands or some shit. Like you can't just kidnap a motherfucker and expect it to turn into money. You gotta call somebody and you gotta it gotta be a fucking plan.
Right. Yeah, that was my overall point when I was talking earlier about like we hearing a lot of lip service from politicians and mainly this jackass we got in the White House about being the leader of law and order and a whole bunch of other BS lip service that we getting from people that's in power. But at the same time, those same people never forget all the people that are talking right now, all the people that are not talking about large scale reform of the criminal justice system. Every politician who's not talking about that right now, who's not talking about real solutions to changing and scaling back some of the power that cops have out here on the streets, who are people who are not talking about mandating psychological evaluations, people who are not talking about if a cop gets 2 strikes and you're out for any kind of police brutality, any kind of infractions. People who are not talking about setting up separate committees outside of the cops to police the cops themselves and stop letting them police themselves. People who are not talking about real change that can stop another George Floyd from happening. Those politicians need to be replaced, and politicians don't get replaced until they lose elections. And it's just that simple for me.
I got just a thought, right? And do you not think that if Trump could benefit from addressing this situation on our behalf, for acting some fucking change on our behalf, that he wouldn't do it?
He can't. Not his base. His core base.
No, I ain't saying that. If he stood, fuck his base. He don't give a fuck about his base. If he really, if in mass we could swing shit and make shit go, if we could be one of his keys,
right?
You think he wouldn't, based on a deep-seated racism or the fact that what's good for him is what matters?
It just so happens that what's good for him and what he really cares about lines up with his constituency, which are already in, which are white people in America who could care less about the black fight, and that's just what it is.
I feel like a lot of Trump's stance has more to do because the hacker group that just leaked out them documents, they've been holding that shit for it's been over a week. It was over before they dropped them papers yesterday.
I don't know when they dropped them.
Like they dropped it like in the past 48, 72 hours, but they had then got the document. They had hacked the attorney's computer servers and got all the documents from a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if any of y'all seen like he's a defendant, like accused of raping a 13-year-old with Epstein.
But we already knew about that. No, we knew about that though already. Though that was already. They accused him of that. No, when Epstein first went down there,
they had the actual report.
You can see the document with the reports from the girl, like with the statements and all that shit. Like they're sitting up talking about how they fighting for her virginity. Mm-hmm. It's a very explicit documentation.
He said he tried to grab women by the pussy and they still elected him. I'm not quite sure how much that's going to matter, fam, at this point. I just got to tell you, I don't think it's going to really fucking matter.
No. Circling back
for him. I'm saying grabbing him by the pussy and raping a 13-year-old, molesting a 13-year-old.
Circling back to like the riots, talking about the riots and the protesting, one of the biggest things that's gonna come from this, that I see, like Colin Kaepernick already set up an organization to help funding legal defense, is how many people are gonna get arrested during these protests and riots, and then what they're going to be charged with. Because I'm going to tell you, like, bro, 10 years ago, I was in San Francisco. The Giants won the World Series. We're down the Mission. Everybody's partying in the streets. It was wild and crazy. At the wildest point, there was no police around. Then it calmed down. There was everyone in the community in the streets. Next thing you know, the cops came down Mission Street in the riot gear, plowing through everybody, old people, families, kids, everybody. If I didn't see with my own eyes, they pushed us all off to 22nd Street. And in that moment, it was like the crowd, the police. I got in between, got on my soapbox, said my shit to the police, like really tearing into them. An hour later, I'm walking home and some cop recognized me. He called me, hey, you started running at me. And I'm like, okay, I could run and then I look guilty, or I can stay. And I stayed, and he arrested me and he put me in the cop car, and he recognized me. He knew it was me, the one who got out and said all this shit to the cops. And that night, they charged me with 2 felony assault on a police officer. They tried to put me in prison for 15 years, man. Like, thank God my uncle's best friend is a great lawyer. It was to the point that the DA knew I was innocent. She knew I was innocent. She told my lawyer, she said, look, I know your guy's innocent, but these cops want him. I don't know what he did. I'm going to give a plea bargain. You better take it. And I had the plea bargain from 2 felonies assault on an officer to 2 misdemeanors assault on officers. All these people that are getting arrested right now, they're gonna get hit up with all kinds of charges.
Yeah. I don't disagree with anything you just said.
When I was at jury duty, I told the judge when I was at jury duty, I said, listen, I can't be on this case because I just don't trust. I don't trust nor care about anything that an officer got to say or any of y'all prosecutors, because it's all bullshit. And the judge looked at me, and he didn't say anything. He looked at them and said, "Did y'all hear what he just said?" And then they let me go.
You shouldn't have said it. You should have kept that to yourself. I gotta tell you. You should have kept RGB. You should have kept that shit to yourself and set your ass right on that goddamn jury. And listen, you feel what I'm saying? Because you could have been the reason why. Anybody know how you get picked for jury duty? Anybody?
Voter registration.
Oh,
I've been picked.
Vote. Yeah, if you got picked, you must be registered to vote. Then, Sam.
Yeah, they dismissed me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to get on the jury.
Listen, I don't believe. At the end of the day, I don't believe that like politics and voting. But I am registered. I feel like okay, if I'm gonna complain, then I have to like vote. So because I've always had too many people be like, "Do you vote?" And they're like, "All right, I don't want to hear what you got to say then." And so I'm like, so and
30 seconds. Shut up, Sam.
RGB, I just feel like RGB, bro. If you ever in that position to get your fam, don't tell them that. Just we need to be on these juries, bro. We need us on these juries.
Here's the thing,
for real.
Liz, I'm saying, because the person who's like, oh, I know that nigga's guilty, ain't about to tell the judge that.
Exactly. Exactly. They're gonna sit there
throughout the entire trial.
That's why we got to be up there like, and I don't fuck with the police. So let's go. This is gonna be a goddamn mistrial. Try it again. You know what I'm saying? This shit finna be a mistrial. You feel what I'm saying? You ever get in that position again, fam? Go. You know what I'm saying? Like, stay. Do what.
Have you seen that movie? Have you seen that movie with Eddie Murphy? I think it's called like Distinguished Gentleman or something like that, where he runs for office because he's got the same name as the politician. That
Yeah.
Yo, so I mean, as long as lobbying is legal, as long as that's legal, as long as corporations can go down there and lobby.
That's important to the fact. Voorhees.
Yeah.
But you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was trying to chime in about 5 minutes ago when Blizzard was talking about as far as the police officers go. I feel that there needs to be some kind of something written, a law or something that if, like you said, if you get 2 strikes, you get fired from one police station. You just can't move to, say if I get fired from fucking Zone 3 police station, I can't move to Scottsdale, Arizona, and just be a police officer again. I believe there should be some kind of shit in place. Like if I'm a lawyer and I get disbarred, I can't just go motherfucking.
like no, that's a good. No, I'm just like, yo, like, listen. I want to fucking buy a car. They run my goddamn credit. Why ain't we got a cop fax? You feel me?
But that's what I'm saying. If I'm a lawyer and I get disbarred, I can't just go to another motherfucking state or another motherfucking place where they don't know me and just become a lawyer again. It's all kind of provisions and shit and all kind of shit I gotta prove. It's so fucking hard to become a lawyer again. It's impossible. And it should be the same way with the police officers.
I think we got our first demand.
That's it.
That's what I'm saying. That's that common sense. It's like, listen, that's that kind of stuff right there. No one is even asking these politicians or these lawmakers to do something like outlandish. Like it's not even beyond the scope of reality of what we're asking them. It's like stupid, basic common sense shit. Like a cop can't get fired for killing somebody and go get a job somewhere else.
But no, listen. It's so common sense though, bro. Like that's the first time someone's ever laid it out though, to me that I've heard.
No, I'd say that shit 1,000 times, Kelby.
No, listen. I tune in to Ill or Kill. Like,
look, listen.
But I think that I also think that I don't know if y'all I don't know what y'all talked about before I got on here. I think that all the police settlements need to come out of their pension and the motherfucking police union, because that way. Because, like I said, if racist Bob, if I know racist Bob is over here slapping motherfuckers and killing motherfuckers, but it really ain't affecting me, then I don't give a fuck. But if racist Bob, every time racist Bob get a citation or get reprimanded and fuck somebody up, and I gotta pay for it, then I'm gonna be on racist Bob ass, and I'm gonna start reporting racist Bob, and I'm gonna start reporting everything that he doing because that shit is affecting me personally and my family. But if it's just affecting my reputation and I'm a cop, I don't give a fuck.
The civil lawsuits, when cops get sued with civil lawsuits, that's who should have to pay, not the city. It should come out of the municipalities. If you start taking, not all of it, maybe a portion of it out of the police union's coffer, that's a realistic, something that'll make them
half of it.
Depending on the civil suit.
No, not depending on it. Just make it part of the process. Not depending on it. Just make it a part of the process. Just another tier. Just another thing. Just another. It ain't got to be that. That's just another incentive. That's just another one to add out there, throw on top of it.
How about this legislation to dissolve a police union?
Well, I love that.
It'll never happen, but I love it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, not until because it's still. I'm for unions. Like I understand collective bargaining, but if certain things are happening, like fucking shooting of unarmed people, like the reason why we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
If certain things are happening and complaints being filed on officers, like then it would behoove them to get them out of their fucking jobs so that the whole union doesn't get dissolved. You follow me?
Yeah, they got civil rights violations or human rights violations, that type of shit.
That type of shit. Where certain infractions, a certain number of infractions within a period, and certain things that have points assigned to them that, listen, clearly you're not doing a good job of helping keep your ranks. If you're so at this point, like if you see racist Bob as a problem, everyone in the union loses their collective bargaining power.
So you're asking, but that right there is asking cops to police themselves, because the only person that's going to be able to control it.
It's not asking, it's incentivizing. See, asking is us saying, hey, you should turn in the bad guys. But incentivizing it, like creating legislation that's like, yo, this motherfucker about to fuck up my pension. Like, get this motherfucker out of here. Like now it's a reason Like it's a reason for a bad cop to turn a worse cop in.
Mhm.
I mean, like that's like fuck the good ones. Like, we got to incentivize this shit.
I mean, it could work in principle. That is something that could happen. But will they ever do that? Who knows? But
I mean, you had a good shit. I didn't shoot your shit down. Will it ever?
As black people, we need to pull together, get our own representatives, get our own city people, put them in office, get our own money, and lobby for whatever the fuck we want. Because that's all they do is they lobby for whatever the fuck they want. And the politicians just gonna swing whoever paying the most at the time. So we need somebody in there that can lobby that type of shit to make that shit happen. Because if it ain't one of us, that shit will never make it to the floor of the House or the Senate.
I never understood. I never understood why the likes of with as much money that circulates in the music industry, there is not like a political action committee, because you've got that the music industry people at the highest levels, the Jay-Z's or whoever, and the people with the real long money, and even down all the way down to us, contribute to a known PAC that, of course, would push legislation that may benefit the industry itself, but also tied in on the back of it is also pushing some of this social change. Like, you know, you've got I know the Grammys were being a part of the Grammy situation. They have one, and they're really active around when elections come around. Those emails start rolling in the Recording Academy, bro. When you get those emails from the Recording Academy, they start rolling in. When they were trying to get the legislation changed with the way they count streaming and all that shit and copyrights and all that, bro, I was getting crazy emails from the Grammy committee about that. See, certain parts of the music industry is involved in politics, but people just don't know. I learned that when I became a member of the Recording Academy. You know what I'm saying? So there's actually political action going on behind the scenes with the Grammys. You feel me? And when election time come on, they send you who they trying to get. They send you the name of the congressman in your district and everything, trying to influence you to call them. Again, I guess none of this really matters because voting don't matter. But I don't know, Sam. It seems like these people were spending a lot of time on it, brother. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get me to call these people. You know what I mean? While sending me, to my email from the Recording Academy, trying to get me. And their goal wasn't about police. But their goal was about that music, that copyright legislation, and all that stuff they just changed. The streaming, that law that came around when they changed out the rate that you pay out that one year in 2018, when all those laws changed. The Grammys I was in the Recording Academy. They were sending me these emails every damn other day. Did you call your senator? Did you call this person? Take action. We've got this meeting, this conference call, this private party. Come talk to us. Are you a voter? All this kind of shit. They cared because that legislation affected the music industry, the industry that they are within. So there's actually on the back end what people don't even be knowing about. Again, like people don't even really understand how the Recording Academy works. But I sat there and witnessed how much they even care. They care because it affected music. It affected the industry. And it had long-term effects. Or the Grammys had that money. They was behind the scenes working.
Us though, like here's the thing, like that's us. Like it's artists who do music, right? And complain about the fucking Grammys and who won best rap but ain't a part of the fucking Academy. Well, like that's why I say the correlations is there.
Yeah.
it's like we out here, we riding, we yelling, we doing all this shit, but we ain't a part of the fucking process.
Yeah. All right, so that's a whole nother one. You want me to? I can't go off deep, and we're gonna get off the subject. I'm gonna let that go. But you're right. But I'm just telling you, the whole point when Voorhees said we need to start lobbying and start putting our money together on the cool, our industry that we're all connected because of
the NAACP.
Huh?
Who's a member of the NAACP?
I was a member of the local one back home, but I never registered with the one up here. However, the SCLC, I ended up getting tied in with them when we did that hurricane drive back, and we used their building. So I built the relationship with them. No, they're good people. They cool, old school. They're that old generation. Yeah. So when you talk to them, bro, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But they mean well. They just sound like granddaddy sometimes. You be like, bro, nah, go tear that shit up. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be like, go home, boy. Now go tear that shit, burn all that shit down, homie. until they listen. That's where I'm at with it. But I'm a little younger. I'm like in the middle. You know what I'm saying?
I'm in the middle. I'm like, don't burn all the shit down.
You know what I'm saying?
It's some things that are okay.
Shit down. You know what I mean? In Buckhead though. Nobody felt bad about Target. I didn't feel bad about Target. I don't know about the rest of you guys.
Listen, I ain't feel listen. It's so many reports of shit that Target has done and shit that goes on at Target.
Oh,
like,
come on, fam.
I gives no fucks about it. And we still shop at Target. I ain't gonna
Nobody's crying the river over Target. I'm not. I was like,
listen, but ain't nobody go to Kennesaw and touch that Confederate store.
Hey man, Marta don't go that far. You know what I'm saying?
Look, you can transfer. You can transfer to Marietta Transit.
But I feel what you're saying though. Them Confederate monuments and all that should have definitely been a target. If you want to tear something down, tear that shit down. I'm not in disagreement with you at all. I understand what you're saying. I do.
That motherfucker gotta go.
Is the mic?
Yeah.
Mic's on?
Yeah.
Okay, like tying in the bases, police racism, and then
Uh-oh.
an analogy like transcends. You can, the same thing, right? So like, the music industry. What about the conversation that the music industry is racist? The conversation that like hip hop was taken by the big labels and then geared and shifted to break down and demise Black community. What about the conversation like who owns Clear Channel? Who owns like all these media outlets, all the news stations, all the iHeart Radio? Who owns iHeart Radio? You know, like who like.
I'll turn up on this conversation whenever y'all ready. Y'all ready? I got time, goddammit. I got time. Y'all got time? Because I got time.
So here's my stance on the thing about the demise of the Black community. Something I think is like right, it's easier to sell candy than vegetables. Like candy has no nutritional value to it. You know what I mean? It's something sweet. It's a very base thing. Like it speaks on the base level. It's easy to make a fucking tear some shit up record. It's easy to appeal to some people's base instinct, and you can make a record. You don't have to be fucking lyrical to make some trap music. It just got to give you a fucking vibe. Then to string together some words to come with coherent thought, to send a message, that takes a little more effort and it's a little more hit and miss. So it's like it's not so much dumbing it down for the sake of destroying people. It's that you can reach more people doing dumb shit.
Hey,
like,
you.
Just what it is. Like, and that's like I feel like any art, like with any form of art, like how many of us doing fucking painting in live right now? But you've had a poster in your life, some shit that's I like this movie and shit. And it's like it takes a certain level. I feel like it takes a certain level of appreciation for the art, and that's a smaller segment, and requires higher costs. But if I make some shit for mass consumption, I'm gonna make stupider shit, and the stupider shit, like I feel like it's all about money. So I feel like we just gonna push forward this bullshit, and that's what they did. But I feel like it's also up to us, and we've had this conversation with Wisdom about the Black brand, about saying, nah, that ain't how I want to be represented.
Yeah, but
we a bad.
Yeah, but and what I say to Sam is this: as a person that as a Black man that owns the platform that is and just like Kelby, we both that's our kindred spirit. That's how we connected. You know what I mean? And as two Black men that own platforms that are here literally to help push the culture, to help push other artists, I can just tell you that particular conversation hits home with me. But just like I listen to whatever I want to listen to, and I consume whatever it is that I want to, because I'm an individual. I'm a grown man. I'm a find my information the way I want to find it. I'm gonna listen to the music I want to listen to. I can't be influenced. I'm at that stage in my life where what I do is what I want to do. In turn, I can't sit here and downgrade these other people who choose these other platforms. I can only downgrade so much FM radio without having to start bashing the people that listen to it. You feel what I'm saying? Like there's going to be a level where I can sit here and say, man, I can complain all I want to about FM radio and all these other things, but at the end of the day, they exist because people listen. They get ad revenue because they got listeners and whatever. And all I can do is what I can do as a platform to try my best within my budget, because my budget ain't the same as iHeart Media. You know what I'm saying? I feel like fiscally I might be in a better place because they just filed bankruptcy, and I'm not. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? I'm all right over here. I don't know about them niggas over there, but they filing. K100 ain't filing bankruptcy. We good. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, the platforms, my platform, Kelby's platform, it's out here. My radio is my broadcast is live right now. You choose to listen to it or not. Our website is up and we share links and we try to share information. You choose to click share on that link or not. You choose to follow our social media pages and engage with us or not. So at the end of the day, the big bad boogeyman industry that came and manipulated and was pulling strings behind the scenes to make us listen to dumb music and got rid of the conscious rap and all that. Yeah, the people that made those decisions probably didn't care about the people who they were marketing the music to, but those people still decided to click that button and listen to that song or go buy that CD or go to that concert. And nobody put a gun to their head to do it. And I can't make them listen to K100 radio. And I can sit here and go all day about Kelby can talk about how dope the members is. I can talk about how raw my rotation is. I can do all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to choose as a consumer. The consumer is going to have to choose. They got to hear about you first. And then they got to like what you're presenting. All I can do is do the best that I can and present it out here. But the culture likes the flash. The culture likes the big, they respect big money and movements and all that. And so you can't really blame the boogeyman on that end because these people are choosing to utilize those platforms and consume that material and that music. We put a lot of dope conscious music on our platform, and we're gonna get the listeners, and some people are gonna listen to that shit and they're gonna be like, nah, they ain't lit. They're gonna go back and listen to whatever their own personal playlist or whatever. There's nothing we can do about it. But the whole notion of the big bad boogeyman in the background pulling the strings, it's kind of sort of true, but then you have to also leave some of the responsibility on the consumers. You just have to. You just can't.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
People smoke cigarettes because they like to.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Big tobacco can't make it enticing, and they can put more shit to make them more addictive, but you have to smoke it to get addicted.
Yeah, but I'll say like big tobacco, the reason why they finally took a hit and lost a lot of cases because there was enough evidence showing how dramatically they were taking steps they're trying to catch people before they had their maturity, before they had their filters to themselves. Like, and that's just the way it is. Like when I was a kid, whether some people want to admit it or not, like I was more impressionable at like 11 years old than I am when I'm like 30 years old, been around the block a few times. When I'm 10, 11, I'm like a sponge, like just soaking it all up. What's new, give me, and I have less filters to differentiate. So like tobacco, like they grab them young. They lost cases because they said, look, you guys are fucking putting bubblegum cigarettes and doing,
everything. Yeah, I understand that argument because basically you're saying that's the same thing that big media did. They used all these big platforms, especially mainly FM radio before the onset of satellite radio and the onset of the internet. They had this one big main way that they pushed music and the one way that they broke music and the one way most people heard up until the past maybe 20 years that you heard a song for the first time was probably on the radio, right?
The radio, yes. And yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And they controlled it and they pushed out what they wanted to push out. But they did. That's true. That's how it went down. But they never, ever made anybody listen to the radio. No. Everybody had multiple channels on their radio station. Every parent who let their young, impressionable 12-year-old listen to gangster rap has to be held to account too. Because they ain't got no business listening to
but what they did, let me tell you this. What they did, all the DJs like
Davey D and Mr. Fab. Like he was a DJ here in the Bay Area. He's also a rapper. Like many DJs will tell you what changed was like depending on where you went in the United States, you'd hear different kind of music. If you went to Texas, you would hear artists around like Texas, the vibe. You go down south, you go to New York, California, different areas. And what changed, the day changed when they came in and said, here's the list of songs that you're going to play over and over again. Like you're not going to, like the DJ, him or herself is not going to have any control over what they're going to play. You're going to play this.
Some of the answer to them playlists at radio. Like when even with the DJ, with the mix shows started being programmed.
Yeah, let me tell y'all what happened though. You guys got to know the history. Well, here we are back again to voting in politics. Yay! All right, so here we go. The reason why that was even the reason what changed, Sam, is what people don't understand is if you look it up and look at the history of it, the laws changed. The president, a different president came into power in the 90s. Unfortunately, he was actually supposed to be the first black president. It was Clinton. All right. In the Clinton era, that was when the FCC able to push through that legislation on his watch that allowed them to basically turn radio into a monopoly and break down and make it legal for people to own multiple stations all over the country. All right. So then all the independently owned radio stations that used to be independent, all of a sudden you've got Radio One, Clear Channel, all these other guys, they went through and gobbled all of them up, bought all of them up. So now you've got one company controlling radio in 10 major cities. And that used to be illegal. That used to be illegal. Right. It was basically an anti-monopoly law they had in place. And it was the Clinton era that actually when the FCC came in and was able to quietly politics, lobbyists behind the scenes quietly get that law nixed. Oh, now Radio One can buy stations all over the country. Not everybody work for Clear Channel. Everybody work for the same exact people. You feel what I'm saying? And that is when radio changed. And that's when everybody was hearing the same songs. Thank God for the internet, because we would be fucked up if the internet, they weren't expecting for that to happen. You know what I'm saying? The internet and streaming came along and fucked all their grand plans up. You know what I'm saying? Thank God. Oh, thank you.
Sorry for the rabbit hole.
Yeah, but I understand though. Yeah.
Talking about like earlier is like the same situation with fucking like everybody on here remember Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
And it was like they like legislation passed on that because it was just a fucking 6-hour block of commercial for toys. That's all it was. They would fucking make cartoons around a fucking toy. And it was like they did that for years, and because the kids were so impressionable, that's when they were passed. They like on Clinton's watch, they passed the legislation. So a certain number of hours had to be dedicated to educational programming or live action type shit. So then you started having those like little zoo shows and like all that little shit that was not entertaining to a fucking kid. Like, but it was like it comes back to that same thing on legislation. And it's like we can affect so many different things through legislation, but it takes legislation being put forward. Like for me, like population control is really like laws are just population control. Like if I want people to do some shit, if I want you, like you motherfuckers driving too fast. All right, let's institute a speed limit. And now we control the population. So when you're on this, you start driving at this speed. Like the legislation is the carrot and the stick. Like it's you'll fucking get a fine for this. You'll get a tax incentive for this. Like we want people to start driving electric vehicles. We offer a fucking tax credit if you buy an electric vehicle or if you install solar panels. All this shit. If we want people to change their behavior, we have to incentivize or disincentivize the behavior. And that's kind of bringing it full circle to what we were talking about with the cops and police brutality. Why I feel like it was a good point, like what Voorhees said, like he had a great idea that I've never heard before about doing the cop facts, like just having that registry, like if you're going to get a job in law enforcement, you have to have been cleared in this fucking database. And like if we can like another layer to that motherfucking list of demands that, all right, if you have a police union, like you have a certain number of points that you can't exceed within a calendar year of reports or complaints on the officers that are up under based on the amount of officers that are in that union. Otherwise, your collective bargaining gets negated and gets dissolved. That's legislation that can be enacted that provides the incentives and the disincentives for the bad actors. Like, you force them to police themselves. But it's like you listen, you be feeling like motherfucking doing 90 sometimes up 85. But it's like, shit, I don't know if the cops up here. So it was like, I'm gonna hover around 80. So it's like, it's the laws, knowing that you can get that super speeder law. Like motherfucker, if you can speed and you're gonna get the same ticket, but if you get that super speeder ticket, like that's a whole nother situation. Then it's like, I'm a speed, but I ain't gonna speed. And so it's like, we gotta focus on passing legislation and putting forth ideas that, like, we can't just talk about the state that we want things in. We gotta outline a system that creates that state.
Mm-hmm. And we got to vote the people in to make it happen.
Yeah.
Politics.
Like, I think getting the police to police themselves works if the ratio of like bad cop, good cop was not so extreme. I don't know, like everyone probably has a different statistic. For me, like 90-95% of cops are dirty and fucked up. Like if it was more like half and half or 60-40, like it wouldn't.
I think I would say, let's say 5% are just bad, like evil. Like, I don't give a fuck, I'm ready to go bash somebody's head. But like 70-80% are like, I can go either way any given day. Like, you understand? Like, it's like, I'm not necessarily bad, but given the circumstances, I'm not gonna exercise undue restraint. Like, I'm gonna like, if you like for instance, if I walk up on you and I smack you RDB, like, you gonna be ready to go there and look at him. Like, it's a problem. But as an officer, you have to exercise a certain level of emotional restraint because you know how far you can take it. No different than if a woman hits a man, right? Like, you have to exercise a certain level of restraint because you know the power that you may have. Like, if you being bigger, you being stronger, like, yo, yeah, she hit you. But because of the dynamic, you need to exercise a level of restraint. And I feel that the cops need to have that same thing, that they have to be able to exercise that. But I feel like it's a lot of them psychologically that aren't there and in that space where they exercise the level of restraint that is relative to the severity of their job and the outcomes that can happen.
Mm-hmm. I think RGB was trying to say something. I don't know. What's he?
Oh, let me see. He did muted. Hold on, let me unmute you. He said,
there we go. All right, so like real quick, my phone is I'm on like 2%. So I'm gonna do this real quick. We working on something towards the end of the month. If anybody's gonna be in Atlanta, it's more than likely gonna be over in the Greenbrier area. And we're trying to basically get people, young people excited about voting more now. I mean, even though all the evidence is out and we should be, what was that?
I'm gonna mute Sam. You can stay in, Sam.
Oh, okay. But even though the evidence is out and we all know, what's going on, and it should excite all the young people to vote. You know how quick the minds of a young person is, and this is something new gonna happen, and then they're gonna forget all about this. But we need to we're gonna do something. We're gonna stay on this and be doing these little rallies. And what we're gonna really do is get like people that people, you know, celebrities that people follow hard to basically, because if we can say, hey, Russ, come pull up. Russ can pull up. He can pull up and bring about 20,000 people. Now, are these 20,000 people registered to vote? We don't know, but we're gonna set up something to where to get in, you need to be registered to vote, or you know what I'm saying, something of that type of magnitude to get people. Get the process started, get the chess match started. You know what I'm saying? We playing a whole game with this system. The system is a game. We just gotta know how to play it. And
the RGB, that's one thing I think I'm gonna take away and notate that you just said. Just imagine for a second if Beyonce said, I'm gonna hold a free concert and your ticket is your voter registration card. Just what will be the outcome? You know what I'm saying? Like, what would be the outcome? Like, you shouldn't have to bribe nobody like that, but let's bribe people like that. You know what I'm saying? Because their tickets are already what, $200-300 a piece to get in, and Beyonce has a rabid fan base. Like something of the nature. A major artist doing something like that. I don't know, because you just basically have to have proof that you're a registered voter.
I think I don't if there's some legal. If that's legal.
That's what I want. I don't know though. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's something like you
what would be wrong with it?
Advise people to vote. There are fucking laws like you can't campaign within a certain number of feet of a polling place.
Yeah.
Right. Advise people to actually not even voting for someone, but even to show up and vote. You can't even incentivize. So I don't know how does that cover registration as well? To that extent, I
don't think so.
For something, yeah.
I don't think so because I can't remember her name, but she does like these little events to where basically, hey, let's come out and register to vote type shit. So she basically goes around getting people to register to vote. Now, to the magnitude that we're trying to do it, I don't know, but
the thing is a difference between doing an event or a free event or doing something and letting people register to vote. Like, you're putting the emphasis on motivating them to the vote, but to make it where it's you have to mandatory.
Right.
You can listen.
That's where we get into.
Hold on. No. Okay, so you can buy a ticket, or you could get in with your voter registration card for free. What? I got somebody. I got to talk to a lawyer, Caleb, because
that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? You could pay for the ticket, or you could show up. You could pay $300 for that ticket.
Yeah, that's something to definitely check into on that.
Or I could just show you this voter registration.
Yeah, so we like I said, we working on something like that. But of course, we gotta figure out what we can and can't do. Of course, Calvin said he's gonna talk to the police around there and see, what they'll let him do, as far as having people come to a certain area. We still in this quarantine, whatever, and they just expanded the gathering to 25 people. Then again, I think didn't he go back on that or something like that?
No, but I think I just seen a report around 2,000 reported cases in the past.
New cases.
Right.
New cases.
Right.
Let me just and I was waiting. I was trying not to, because it's just all of this has so many moving parts. But nobody is talking about the correlation of all of this going down in the middle of this damn pandemic. And I think that is so nobody. I've talked about it on a couple of posts, but it's just blowing my mind, bro.
Because
it's just so crazy to me. Nobody's talking about it, and I'm just nope. Bruh. You know what I'm saying? If anything, I'm fuck Target. It's a pandemic. Fuck those TVs. Fuck that damn
pandemic.
It's a pandemic. If I'm mad about anything about people being out there, it's because it's in the middle of a pandemic. But people don't even believe it's real. So
here's the thing.
I ain't been down there.
Here's the fucking thing. For Black people, disproportionately affected by the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we're also disproportionately out there protesting.
Yeah. So
it's like, what percentage of those new cases were?
Yeah, all that. No,
Just think of, like here in Chicago, we just had 600 people arrested, so they're all in jail together.
Right.
Yeah.
This pandemic is going around. How many cases you think we got out of those 600 people?
Right.
Come on.
And the young people are like, and the whole problem with the coronavirus from the onset was when they were saying, oh, black people couldn't get it. Found out that shit was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, found out that was wrong.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. So now you've got mostly because protesting and all this stuff, this is a young man's sport. Most of the people out there gonna be young because they ain't got nobody's job or none of that, whatever. So they out there, but they going back home to their mama's house, to their grandmama house, to their older relatives' house that got pre-existing conditions. We know a lot of young people that gonna get it and they ain't gonna die from it. We understand that when you young and fit, the chances of you dying from it drop drastically, but you are still a carrier. And so after you come down there, you do all your protesting and doing all that, then you go home and stay at your mama house or your auntie house or wherever you at. Because let's just be real, how many of those young people gonna have their own place?
Right.
You feel me? That's why they can afford to not go to work or not be working or whatever. Besides the ones that's unemployed right now, the amount of young people who just don't have that level of responsibility so they can just be down there all day and all night, who they stay with, where they live at. You feel what I'm saying? And who with a pre-existing condition or who is an elderly person that they may go home and give it to and they die. Nobody's talking about that, bro.
Right. Nobody.
And it's just, bro, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know what to say about that part. Because there's so many of us that don't even believe the pandemic is real. All I see, all my news feed all day is, man, all these protests and no new cases.
No pandemic, like, bro, like, do you know that at least takes 7 days? Like, we've been, like, it takes 7 days before you have symptoms. If you have symptoms, you could be asymptomatic.
100,000 people have died from this. 100,000 people dead. And here we are with crowds of people. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about that part. That's just bad.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad.
Today was my first time stepping outside to do anything today, and I did it because we talked about something and we stood outside and separated ourselves.
Just to put that in context, over 100,000 people died. That would be like selling out a concert at State Farm Arena, and all the motherfuckers dying. And I did 4 more shows just like it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah. That's how many people dead from it. So that part right there is a discussion that I don't even know where to begin on that. I want to tell people if anything made me tell young people not to protest, that would have been the reason. It wouldn't have been to salvage a couple of TVs at Target or shit like that, or just to whatever excuse people wanted to give. That would have been the reason that I could have supported that. Just trying to tell people not to gather in mass like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing.
A limb with this one. Like, I feel like some people told young people not to protest and not to do shit because they just wanted something to fucking say.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like that. It's just a lot of like, you ain't got no solutions, but you got all the opinions on the shit that people are doing.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, if they want to protest, fam, I got people hopping on my social media feeds. I'm inciting stuff. We're irresponsible as a platform. All kind of crazy stuff that people said to me because I said, fuck it, burn it down. And that's how I felt. I honestly felt, fuck it, burn it down. Like I said, this is the only pause, the only public statement I made about being reserved about your protest was about just be careful about the pandemic and the virus and make sure you cover yourself and just understand, hey, just be real with yourself. Like, don't go out there and do all that, then go and visit your sick grandmama. You feel what I'm saying? Like, let's not just be completely reckless. But that was my only reservation. But other than that, people are going to be critical of something like this. You're going to have an opinion either way, Kel. But something this big, it's just like the pandemic. You had an opinion either way. Is it real? Is it not? Did it? Is it fake? You know what I'm saying? This is just like the pandemic where you're going to have opinions, bro. no matter what, somebody's going to say something and disagree.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out there, I had a thought, like with today's technology and how like the cost effective, like what about the idea of passing legislation like every single police officer has to have body camera, and every single stop that shit has to go on before they step out of their car?
Yeah, that's simple. That's real easy.
It's simple, but like, what was it? The cops in Kentucky that killed the what's the girl's name? Like none of their body cams are on. Absolutely none of them.
The guy in Louisville that just got fired. The governor and the mayor just fired the cop in Louisville that killed the guy that owned the barbecue stand. The National Guard, they didn't have their body cams on. You feel me? At first they said they did, and they were going to review the footage. All of a sudden, nobody's body cameras on. So those motherfuckers, they got fired. He was quick with it. He was like, "Oh hell, no body cam footage. You fired." He fired him. But they need to go. They need to get prosecuted too as well. You know?
That's other like. Here's the thing: legislation in that the burden of proof. If you don't have a body cam on, then the burden of proof is on the state to prove otherwise of what the person is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are going into the situation and you have the tools to capture what's going on and document everything.
Mm-hmm.
If for any reason that's you not doing your duty and doing your job. And so the burden of proof should be on the state in that case.
Yeah, to prove that it didn't work, to prove that it wasn't charged, to prove that it wasn't available. And if you can't prove that,
to prove that whatever the fuck that the other person says isn't the truth.
Yeah.
Like then the benefit of the doubt should be solely given to whoever the defendant is or whoever they're going to arrest or whatever. Like now the full burden of proof is on the state to prove that they're lying because you had the power to document it when you went in as an officer with the body cam. So that would incentivize them making sure their body cam is on.
On that though, Kelby, you may be crossing over into innocent in the quote unquote American way of innocent till proven guilty. Your accuser, you know, you're innocent until what you're being accused of, you know, you in the court of law and the way this whole government is structured, that kind of crosses over into, you know, that territory right there where you're saying, oh, they're already guilty and they got to prove their innocence, where it's technically in this country, we know as black people, it don't always work that way. But technically in this country, it's supposed to be you're innocent until you prove I'm guilty.
But that's what I'm saying. Further forcing that, like if that's on legislation, like to make the requirements for the prosecutor, the DA to file charges, to make the burden of proof that much higher. For them with them not having a body cam.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or if, for instance, with a grand jury, like how they have to have this certain amount of proof to lower the threshold that has to be passed for the grand jury to indict because the body cam footage wasn't there.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I understand what you're saying.
Incentivize for them to always have it on.
Right.
And if that footage ain't, that fucks you up even worse.
Right.
I think we came up with some solutions tonight.
We did.
Somebody got to write this shit down.
I was writing stuff down.
You know what? I was gonna ask. What was DJ Ms. Mood
Swing?
DJ MZ MOOD SWING to the Z.
I saw you jotting stuff down. I saw you jotting stuff down. I'm like, I was
jotting a lot down. I was jotting stuff that you guys were saying down, but I also was jotting down some of my thoughts because I have mixed feelings coming from, like, my father was murdered by Chicago PD.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in New Orleans, so I got mixed feelings on a lot of stuff. Even with the protests, like you were saying, you hear people saying, just giving opinions. People shouldn't be out there to protest. I feel like how you choose to protest or how you choose to handle this matter is your personal choice. I just want people to be safe. The problem is, like in Chicago, we had peaceful protests going on here in Chicago. And what did they do? As they peacefully protested, they lifted the bridges and had them stuck in the area. But the media is not showing it. So they're stuck. They can't get out. Then all of a sudden they put out a curfew. So if you got them stuck in the area and then you put a curfew out and they can't get home, what's going to happen? You're going to start arresting them. You're going to start doing stuff that's harmful to them. So it's like, I hear people saying, oh no, you should march peacefully. Oh no, you should riot. Honestly, it's like we done did all these things. And the definition of insanity is like you doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And neither one of them is working. So I agree with the voting thing. Even if you don't believe it's right, at least get out there and say, I did it. I tried. Because if you don't get out there and say you did and you tried, because we would never know the truth, because we're not behind politics. We're not in those positions. We're not a part of nothing in power to see how that works. We're not. So we'll never know the truth, but at least you can say you tried.
It's definitely the bare minimum. Like voting is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But
it's free. It's I mean, don't get me now listen,
definitely free.
They've it's the bare minimum, but they've also gerrymandered the districts to make it harder and make your polling places farther away when you're black.
Yep.
All this other kind of little voter suppression that they've done. All right. So gerrymandering is a real thing. All right. That's a serious problem in America. That needs to be addressed also as well, the way they've gerrymandered up these districts and stuff like that, and made, you know, real ID and all these other kind of ways to suppress the vote. But even with all of that, we still have a large amount of people who could get to a polling station and, you know, who have ID, who just philosophically believe that it doesn't matter. And I'm like, fam, I don't know. I've never been at a poll longer than 2 hours in my life. You know what I'm saying? So it's 2 hours or so out of your day, especially if you do early voting.
Yeah.
Just you don't, you know, like you said, you don't know. We don't know the back end of, we're not sitting in the room counting, but you have people whose job that is. You have elected officials. There's people in office. If the right person gets in office, you have people who oversee elections. That's their job all year. What they do is make sure the election goes smooth. Somebody gets a paycheck for that.
Yes.
You feel what I'm saying? And so people are getting elected. So some elections, facts, what we do know. Elections happen and people lose them. And that ain't changed. And that's been that way since I've been born. All right. Elections happen in this country and people win or lose them. So whether you think your vote is counting or not, something going on.
Right.
Because they steady happening every damn year and every 4 years. You understand? So, and like I told you, last time I checked, rich people don't spend money on stuff that's frivolous to them like that, unless it's like a luxury. But every person I know with money, they tied in, they contribute to the people who they feel like the legislators and the people who can get laws passed. They contribute to people that has their industry in their interest. So why would they give the money up?
Right.
Feel what I'm saying? So obviously they know something we don't.
And then another thing I was thinking about, I felt like even with the protests, people were more concerned with the buildings burning down than the main cause, which is police brutality, our people dying, the bodies that we keep losing. And it's like, even I support Black-owned businesses all the time. That's who my money goes to. If I can buy Black-owned, that's what I try to do. But we don't teach our people to do that, or we just don't choose not to. Oh, it's too far, or it costs too much. We make excuses for that. But if we take our money and start putting it in our neighborhoods, like they talking about, they burning down these liquor stores and stuff. Let them burn them down. And if they don't come back, they don't need to come back. Why won't we buy that building and rebuild something that's better versus a liquor store that these people who don't even care about us own? If that's the case, they're not out there protesting with you. Why are you concerned about that liquor store burning down?
I will say one thing is like, because there have been some people who burned down and broken in like Black-owned businesses and stuff.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
true.
And so it's like here's my thing with the fucking up shit, right? Like, especially like now the Target, we know who fucking owns Target. Like, but it's like the smaller mom and pop shit. Like, it's like it's for me, it's like one of the things is, I feel like when you having like we were talking about earlier, like being older, like we was talking about how the crack epidemic hit, like when you 14, 15, getting money, like you ready to kill off or whatever. But if you 30, 40, you understand certain things. It's a line. That line moves because you have a reverence for life. and like that's a bigger step to take. And so like from a financial standpoint, when you built something from the ground up, like you built a business, like when you like all that shit, like the shit that you sacrificed and the arguments and all that shit, and the motherfucker take like when a motherfucker get robbed or someone gets shot over a robbery, someone try to steal their chain or some shit, like it's just a chain. It ain't the fucking chain. It's the whatever they had to do to get there. It's like when someone try to take your shit, like it ain't just you don't take my car. It's like everything that someone had to do to attain something, like that's what they're fighting for, not for the thing. And so like that's where like I feel like it's like I've seen some comments like, well shit, they got insurance and
and they all it don't work the same for everybody. Even with insurance doesn't work the same for everybody. So I'm not for tearing down like the mom and pop black owned businesses and stuff. But the problem is people don't know what they are, so they just out there tearing up stuff. So that's why I'm like, I'm for it, and I'm for the protest, and I'm not for it. I'm torn. But my thing, even like, with insurance, I'm sorry.
I said that's kind of why I'm against it. If you don't know what to tear up, then you
don't do it.
If you don't know, hold on. If you don't know what to tear up, then you probably a outside agitator who don't know that neighborhood. That's the first
thing. Exactly, and that's the problem.
So that leads into all of the information that people are talking about. Like, why are you even over here? Like, you don't even belong over here. You're not even from here. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So that in and of itself can lend some credence to the fact that people are saying these people ain't even from around here. You know what I mean? So there's that part of it. But and also on the insurance part, just like the way insurance policies work, you have that's extra. That policy is not standard. That riot insurance is like flood insurance on a home. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people don't.
You got to pay a little extra for that, and you got to make sure that's written into the policy, or you fucked. You know what I'm saying? Yep. You are covered for stuff not riot.
Mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's $3.70 a month,
and they don't get it. Yep.
Jones, you had something to say?
Damn, I forgot what I was saying now.
Hey, you've been unmuted for I don't know how long.
No. I was going to talk about not only that, we need to find out who's in the electoral college and break that shit up.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to, and a lot of that looting and shit is going on. Is motherfuckers who don't even, one who not live in Atlanta, two who don't give a damn about Black Lives Matter. Every video that I see is a white guy with a skateboard.
Right.
And all this shit covered up, so you can't really see anything. Majority of the videos that I see. So
because they want you to think it's all of us.
Dior, that's niggas. That's niggas all day. Fifth Plaza, that's niggas all day. But just random shops downtown and shit like that, where if you from there, like the Tabernacle, hey, nobody from Atlanta burnt the Tabernacle down. There's no fucking way you from Atlanta and you set the Tabernacle on fire. There's no goddamn way. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you go follow Turquoise Music. She posted the video, and it's like somebody just on the corner just tearing up the concrete, some shit, and they go over there to grab them, snatch them up, like the protesters. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then like they pull out the hat. It's like some old gray haired white guy. It's like the
Scooby-Doo shit.
Like
Scooby-Doo.
But they're not showing that on the media. They're not showing none of that on the media. So the problem is people believing that it's us, and it's not us. It's other people coming into our areas tearing up our stuff. And we don't own no media, so we can't control it. So the only thing that's helping us is social media. But no, social media is what's helping us now, because we don't own, I'm talking about like the big media conglomerates. We don't own the Viacom. We don't own the NBC. So social media has been helping us tremendously get these stories out. So I commend y'all, and I thank y'all for y'all platforms, because without y'all platforms, we wouldn't even be able to speak and have these conversations.
Yeah, I understand that, definitely.
Listen, that's why honestly, in closing this out, like that's why I wanted to do this, was just to like provide, like, because I've been doing lives and talking to like a lot of younger people who've been out there protesting, and artists and stuff, and like it's a lot of emotions flying around, and like a lot of people don't a lot of the frustration comes from feeling voices and feeling and not even being able to vocalize what you thinking and to be heard. And so, like, I'm pretty sure everybody on this live, you on this live for a reason. Like, the shit we talking about right now has been playing through your head, and you just been thinking about this shit. And like, it's to get this shit out into the air, and for it to be an exchange of ideas and things that we can build on, and we go from here, and focusing on solutions. And for like some of the points that we've all made, to be able to relay those good points to other people and expand those good ideas and actually do something. Like, I think the registration, national database of registration with the cops, and one of the things I found out, like, they don't keep track of, and this ain't even about race, just they don't keep track of like officer involved shootings. There's like no uniform database on data that's collected relating to that. So it's like, those are I think the things that there needs to be some kind of system for that, where all law enforcement agencies have to report to that. And there needs to be like an overarching, like some legislation that has accountability on a federal level for all local law enforcement agencies. That I think that's the thing that we gotta push for, to incentivize or disincentivize the actions that are being taken, and for us to come out on the other end of this with some sort of progress.
Yep, it's been fun. I had a good time. Nice to meet everybody that I didn't know before today.
Nice to meet you as well.
All right.
So yeah, all this is on Facebook and all that stuff. Y'all can share it with a family member, friend. But yeah, appreciate everybody for tapping in. It's been real. Let me wrap this thing up. I don't know how this worked. There we go.
All right.
All right.